Meet the Cardenas family, the Sword of the Empire. They're basically a massive collection of warriors who think having a fancy crest makes them gods. Their military power is so high, it's basically its own country. And at the top of this mountain of ego stands their elite unit. The Golden Dragon Knighthood is made of the direct descendants. You can tell they're important because they all have blonde hair, golden eyes, and a massive "I'm better than you" complex. They claim to have the blood of dragons in their veins, which is a great excuse for why they're so loud and annoying. The training grounds are a mix of young dragons trying to awaken their powers and branch family members just trying to survive the day. It's a constant grind. Everyone's out here testing their mettle, but mostly they're just getting hit by the guys with better stats. Take this guy, for example. He's a direct descendant, and he's currently treating a sparring match like he's trying to commit a crime. This is William Cardenas. He's the #1 trainee, and he looks exactly like the kind of guy who would remind the teacher about the homework. The girl he's fighting is #2, and she's already realizing that being second place is just a fancy way of being the first loser. She thought a 2-on-1 attack would actually work against the top-ranked guy. Spoiler alert, it didn't. #4 gets dropped in literally 1 second. At this rate, the training is going to be over before lunch. The girl tries to block, but her face says it all. She knows she's about to be a footnote in William's biography. A massive flash of blue energy cuts through the air. It's flashy, it's loud, and it's very unnecessary. She can't even see his blade. It's less of a fight and more of a one-sided demolition. William stands over them, wondering if this is really the best the direct line has to offer. He's disappointed, which is a classic villain move. He tells her she's not even worth his time. Ouch. Imagine getting beaten up and then getting a 1-star review on your performance. He calls them branch family trash, which is ironic considering they're actually direct line. He's so arrogant, he's accidentally insulting his own parents. William declares himself the victor. He's got the badge, the hair, and the ego. He thinks he's already won the game. Back at the headquarters, the place looks more like a 5-star hotel than a barracks. Life is good when you're at the top. The big bosses are watching everything on a magical screen. It's like a sports bar, but for people who like watching teenagers stab each other. This is Fabian, the commander. He's got the cool uncle beard, but the "I'll kill you" eyes. He asks who's ready for the special grade. The instructors agree there are plenty of talents, but only one guy is actually built different. They point to William. Even against the rank 2 and 4, the guy didn't even break a sweat. Fabian confirms the victims were also from the direct line. It seems the family tree is more of a family shrub for everyone except William. The report on the branch families is even worse. They're basically being wiped out in the preliminary rounds. Across the field, the scene is a mess. Low rankers are scattered like discarded toys. It's rough out here for anyone without a trust fund. Fabian notes that the wall of blood isn't easily climbed. In this world, your birth rank is basically your destiny. The ranking system is simple. #1 is a god, and everyone else is just background noise. It's only natural for William to take the special grade spot. There's no competition, or is there? Just as they're about to sign the paperwork, the chief instructor tells them to hold their horses. Fabian is confused. Why wait when the #1 is right there looking pretty? The instructor says there's a peculiar branch member who's been acting very strange lately. Fabian asks for the number. He's expecting something close to 1. The instructor drops the bomb. He's #25. Fabian is unimpressed. 25 is decent, but it's not exactly special grade territory. He thinks #25 is probably just overachieving and will hit his ceiling soon. But the instructor insists. He knows something is up. He's seen things that don't make sense. His name is Leonard Cardenas, and his resume for the last week is absolutely insane. Get this. A few days ago, Leonard was rank 381. He was the bottom of the barrel. Suddenly, he started cutting down everyone in his path. The other instructor thinks it's a joke. Moving up 350 ranks in 3 days is basically using cheat codes. But then, they see him on the screen. He's not fighting a nobody. He's standing right in front of William. Our boy Leonard looks calm. He's facing the #1 without a single drop of sweat, which is the ultimate power move. William, being a classic narcissist, thinks Leonard is there to surrender. He even kindly warns him he's not in the mood to be gentle. Leonard just says, that's fine. He's got that deadpan energy that drives arrogant guys crazy. He tells William he wasn't planning on holding back either. The audacity of this man. William is offended. A branch member talking back? He demands Leonard draw his sword so he can teach him his place. Leonard looks at him and realizes William's aura is actually the real deal. He's not just a loudmouth, he's a loudmouth with actual power. Leonard cracks a tiny smile. It's the look of a guy who's finally found a decent warm-up. He invites William to come at him. He wants to see how far his current weak body can go using his old techniques. William doesn't wait. He launches himself into the air like a human missile, covered in blue energy. He screams that he's going to crush Leonard and his sword together. He's going for the overkill right out of the gate. Kaboom! The ground shatters as William slams down. The shockwave alone is enough to clear the forest. William is shocked. He landed a direct hit, but Leonard is still standing, blocking the strike with a wooden practice sword. With a smooth, slush sound, Leonard slides his blade against William's, parrying the force like it was nothing. He steps back, looking totally bored. He's basically saying, "Is that it? I've seen better moves in a toddler's karate class." William is fuming. He can't believe a nobody parried his strike. His pride is taking more damage than the ground did. He growls that his sword isn't fragile enough to be broken by an apprentice. He's starting to lose his cool. He charges again, screaming, "Don't mock me!" He's officially entered the angry spamming phase of the boss fight. He launches a barrage of strikes. Blue sparks are flying everywhere. It looks impressive, but Leonard is just dancing. Every time William swings, Leonard is already an inch away. It's like he's reading the script of the fight. Leonard's red eyes are tracking everything. He's looking for the one thing William lacks: precision. Back in the room, the instructors are stunned. Leonard's style doesn't look like any Cardenas technique they've ever seen. They notice there's zero wasted movement. He's parrying with the absolute minimum force required. That's not skill, that's mastery. But they also notice something weird. Leonard hasn't actually attacked yet. He's just observing, like a scientist looking at a bug. William calls him a little pest. He's frustrated because he's swinging for the fences and hitting nothing but air. He taunts Leonard, asking if running away is all he's good at. A classic taunt from someone who can't land a hit. William swings a massive horizontal arc, trying to catch Leonard mid-dodge. It's a huge move, but it's also a huge mistake. Leonard sees the opening. His eyes narrow. This is the moment the nobody becomes the emperor. He plants his foot, cracking the ground. The physical limit of his body is screaming, but he doesn't care. In a blur of speed, Leonard moves inside William's guard. He's so close he could whisper a "get good" into his ear. William panics. He tries to pull his sword back, his face contorted in a mix of fear and disbelief. Leonard delivers a series of precise strikes. Bomb, bomb. It's not flashy, but it's devastating. William is sent stumbling back. For the first time in his life, he's looking up at a trash member from the dirt. Leonard walks toward him calmly. He admits William's power is quite something. It's the most polite way to call someone a meathead. William snaps. He screams that Leonard only knows how to dodge. He demands a real fight, which is funny because he's the one losing. Leonard sighs. He decides to give William what he wants. He closes the distance in a heartbeat. William thinks his judgment is better, but he's still missing one key ingredient: experience. Leonard thinks about what William lacks: the intuition forged at the literal brink of death. "This is your limit," Leonard says. He's not being mean. He's just stating a fact. William's eyes widen in terror. Leonard launches him into the air with a single strike. William hits the canopy of the trees like a failed firework. The audience of other trainees is losing their minds. They can't believe number 25 is styling on the number 1 golden boy. Leonard looks like a completely different person. The nobody from rank 381 is gone. He moves with a cold, surgical grace. His red eyes are glowing with a power that shouldn't belong to a kid. William tries to find him in the dust, looking around frantically. He's lost sight of his opponent on an open field. That's embarrassing. "Damn it! Where is he?" William yells. He's completely lost the plot. Leonard appears right behind him. "When did you get there?" William screams, swinging wildly. He calls Leonard a nobody one last time. It's his favorite word, but it's losing its sting since the nobody is winning. Leonard leans in and whispers the 3 words William never thought he'd hear. "You lose, number 1. A massive strike descends. The impact is so heavy, it feels like the whole forest is being crushed. William is sent flying, blood spraying, as he loses consciousness. The dragon just got its wings clipped. Leonard stands in the aftermath. He knows this would have been impossible for his old self in this life. But now, all his memories have returned. Every single one of them. The memories of the man once hailed as the world's greatest sword emperor, Ren. He's back, and he's in a very petty mood. Past life check. This is Ren. He spent his entire life obsessed with the sword. Probably forgot how to have a normal conversation. The guy could rend the heavens and crush mountains. He earned the title Sword Emperor because God of Murder was probably taken. But he was never satisfied. He challenged the heavenly demon, the era's strongest, to a duel to see who had the bigger blade. The fight lasted for days. It was so intense that normal humans would probably have disintegrated just by looking at it. They literally terraformed the entire region. Who needs a bulldozer when you have 2 angry guys with swords? And the result? Well, Ren is looking pretty rough. He's bleeding, he's tired, and he's losing. Under a blood-red moon, the landscape is a crater. The heavenly demon is still standing, looking like he just finished a light jog. Ren is devastated. He thought his swordsmanship was perfect. He spent decades perfecting every move, yet he couldn't even touch the guy. Why? Why can't my blade even graze him? He's having a midlife crisis in the middle of a deathmatch. The heavenly demon gives him a smug grin. He's about to give Ren the most soul-crushing advice ever. "Basics," the demon says. He tells Ren he never truly understood the sword and only swung it for his own life. He calls Ren immature. Imagine being a sword emperor and getting called a child by the guy who's currently killing you. Ren is insulted. Lacking in basics? He thinks it's a cheap insult, but the demon is dead serious. The demon calls Ren a stray dog, but admits it was admirable that he fought this far. That's some high-tier backhanded praise. He prepares to finish it. He wants to show respect to the departing emperor by ending him quickly. "Go in peace," the demon says. He walks away as the moon watches the end of a legend. The sword emperor falls. It's a tragic, lonely end for the strongest man in the world. As he lies there dying, he wonders if it really ends like this. All those years of training, just to lose, because he skipped day 1 of sword class. He reaches out wishing for one more chance, just one more shot to see if he could actually reach that level. He wants his sword to reach the man who defeated him. It's a desperate, dying wish. And just like that, the legend of Ren ends in defeat. But in a place no one could have imagined, a new legend was about to start. Back to reality. Leonard is hearing voices. People are asking how his breathing is, and if they should call an instructor. Gasp. Leonard wakes up like he just remembered he left the stove on. He's currently rank 381, and he's a mess. He looks around, confused. The Sword Emperor memories are clashing with his current loser Leonard life. He's had that dream again. The one where he gets humiliated by a guy with dark hair. It's the worst recurring nightmare ever. 3 thugs walk up. They thought he was dead, for sure. Honestly, with those rank numbers, they probably weren't far off. They notice something is different about Leonard. He's got this, "I've died before and I'm over it" look in his eyes. One thug decides to continue from before and throws a punch. He's mad because Leonard scared him by almost dying. Logic. Leonard's eye twitches. He's not the rank 38A1 punching bag anymore. He catches the punch without even looking. The thug's face is a masterpiece of, "I just messed up." The thug is stuttering. He can't believe the guy he was bullying just a second ago just blocked his expert strike. Leonard looks at his hand. His body moved on its own. The basics are finally paying off. The thug calls him a bastard and reaches for his badge. He's rank 133, which apparently gives him the right to be a jerk. He swings his practice sword, yelling that Leonard just got lucky once. It's the cry of a man who's about to get wrecked. "Don't get carried away," he screams. Leonard doesn't even blink. Leonard dodges the strike by an inch. It's so smooth, it looks like the thug just missed on purpose. The thug is sweating bullets. I dodged it? No, buddy. He made you miss. Leonard realizes something is guiding his body. It's the muscle memory of a man who swung a sword a billion times. We ham. Leonard delivers a counterstrike. It's fast, it's clean, and it's very painful. The thug hits the dirt. Leonard stands over him, realizing that his dreams weren't dreams at all. The other 2 thugs are paralyzed. They think he's toying with them. They're not wrong. Leonard is glowing with aura. He's thinking, why was I such a loser 10 minutes ago? The thugs are losing their minds. He's like a completely different person. Well, yeah, he's got a dead emperor living in his head now. The leader tells them not to freak out. He's trying to keep the gang together, but the ship is already sinking. They decide to crush him together. The classic, "we can't win 1v1, so let's dogpile him" strategy. Leonard smiles. I see. I get it now. He's finally accepted his new reality. I've remembered everything. He delivers a flying kick that defies the laws of physics and common sense. He takes down the second thug midair. It's like watching a pro gamer play on a noob server. He slams the third guy into the ground. C-rack. That's going to be a very expensive medical bill. Leonard stands among the fallen thugs. He's rank 381, but he just cleared the room like a rank 1. He reflects on the strange dreams. All this time, they were just memories he hadn't unlocked yet. The white-haired man, the crimson sky, the basics lecture, it all makes sense now. He used to resent those dreams because they made him distracted and weak. Turns out, they were his greatest treasure. There's only one conclusion. He is the reincarnation of Ren, the Sword Emperor from another world. He's stunned. Reincarnation actually exists. His desperate wish at the moment of death actually worked. His current body is still trash though, swinging the sword for 5 minutes and his arm already hurts. He realizes the old Leonard trained recklessly, trying to use power he didn't have. He was doing it all wrong. But from now on, things are different. With his memories and techniques, he's going to be overwhelmingly strong. Ren couldn't achieve perfection in his past life. But Leonard is going to do it right this time. He's going to use everything he has to become the strongest Sword Emperor ever. Watch out, world. The nobody is back. At the training grounds, word is spreading. 3 guys got hospitalized by a low ranker. The thugs are useless for the upcoming field training. They're basically out of the game before it even started. A blue-haired guy, number 5, says it won't have much impact on their plan. He's trying to act cool, but he's curious. He asks who did it. He's expecting a rival from a big family. The answer, number 381. The room goes quiet. That's like hearing a toddler beat up a professional boxer. One of the elite members looks out the window. He wants to know the ranks of the guys who got beaten. 329, 257, and 133. The numbers are decent, which makes the loss even more embarrassing. The guys are sweating. Did that 381 really take them down alone? They're starting to realize there's a shark in the pond. If Leonard joins another faction, the balance of power is going to shift instantly. William is listening from the shadows. His eye is twitching again. He hates it when anyone else gets mentioned. He sparks some blue lightning, telling them to watch their mouths. He's not shaken by one weakling. Sure, William, whatever you say. He orders them to bring number 381 to him. He wants to judge Leonard himself. William looks out the window with a villainous smirk. He thinks he's going to use Leonard, but he has no idea he's about to be the basic lesson. We start with a gift for Ren's journey to the afterlife. The heavenly demon is still lecturing him, even as Ren is literally dying. The demon explains that Ren reached his limit because he built his foundation way too late. It's like trying to build a skyscraper on a base made of crackers. He wonders if things would have been different if Ren had started young. Well, looks like we're about to find out. Back in the present, Leonard is taking that advice to heart. He's meditating, finally building the mana foundation he lacked in his past life. He's solidifying his base from this young age. He's basically speedrunning the tutorial levels with endgame knowledge. Step 1. Create a constitution that won't explode when it touches mana. It's a delicate process, but Leonard isn't exactly a beginner. A massive magic circle glows beneath him as he stabilizes the energy. This is way more effort than any normal trainee is putting in right now. Success. He's managed to bridge the gap that once held back the greatest in the world. He thinks about how he used to struggle at this age due to lack of energy. Now, he's essentially a sports car with a nuclear reactor under the hood. He looks at the Cardenas family banner and wonders about the true nature of their bloodline. He's starting to realize these people are hiding some secrets. Time for the most important part of training, the cafeteria. Even an emperor needs a lunch break. Leonard takes a bite and realizes the food is actually decent. Hey, if you're going to be a warrior, you might as well eat like a king. He reminds himself that a balanced diet is key for growth. He's eating with the focus of a man who's planning a war, but he just looks like a hungry kid. Suddenly, a shadow looms over his table. Someone is looking for No. 381, the famous loser who's been winning lately. It's a big guy who heard Leonard is a bit of a hothead. He's being surprisingly casual for someone interrupting an emperor's meal. The guy notes that Leonard usually eats like a bird, but today, he's cleaning his plate. Yeah, turns out, not being a loser takes a lot of calories. Leonard looks at his badge and asks if he's No. 8. He's trying to keep track of the local hierarchy. The guy flexes and says he's No. 7 now because he knocked out the previous guy. It's a very simple system. Punch up, move up. Leonard isn't interested in the rank drama. He bluntly asks the guy what he actually wants. No. 7 thinks Leonard is being a bit cold. He was just trying to be a helpful upperclassman. He warns Leonard that the atmosphere has turned murderous. The top ranks, specifically 1, 2, and 4, are starting to build their kingdoms. Leonard slams his tray down, done with the conversation. He's heard enough about kids playing Game of Thrones in a training camp. He knows the deal. Blonde hair, golden eyes, and a massive ego. He's seen it all before. No. 7 panics, telling Leonard to be quiet because people might hear. He's terrified of the direct line, royals. He asks Leonard if he's gone crazy. The Leonard he knew would never talk back to the direct descendants like this. He insists that the branch members won't survive unless they unite. He's basically asking Leonard to join his We Hate the Cool Kids club. He explains that more than half the camp has already joined one of the top squads. It's a numbers game, and the direct line is winning. No. 7 plan is to join forces with No. 3 and No. 9. He thinks adding Leonard's new strength to the mix would make them a real threat. Leonard gives him a flat, I refuse. He doesn't need a squad when he's his own army. He thanks him for the information and says he owes him one. Then he just walks away, leaving No. 7 standing there like a statue. No. 7 is left wondering if Leonard hit his head. This isn't just a confidence boost, it's a personality transplant. The sun sets over the training grounds. The calm before the storm is officially over. On his way out, Leonard is intercepted again. He asks if these guys have business with him, but he already knows the answer. A pair of boots stops in front of him. Was the food good? No. 381? A classic line from a guy who's about to get his lunch money taken. 2 more lackeys show up. They have a mountain of things to say, but they're mostly just here to act tough. They yell that No. 1 is calling for him. It's like a summon from the principal, except the principal is a blonde teenager with a god complex. They offer to overlook his recent wins as a special favor. Leonard is internally laughing at how professional these kids are acting. Leonard doesn't even stop walking. He just spins on his heel, ready to leave. I'm not interested. Get lost. Leonard's give a damn meter is at 0%. One of the lackeys attacks, screaming that Leonard is just a piece of trash. He hasn't realized that the trash has started taking itself out. Leonard doesn't even move from his spot. He just watches the guy charge in like a bull heading for a wall. Whoosh. Leonard dodges a lethal strike without even drawing his sword. He's making this look like a chore. He closes the distance with a single, lightning-fast step. His physical ability is catching up to his mental stats way faster than expected. A massive red shockwave erupts. Leonard doesn't even use a blade. He just uses the sheer force of his presence. The lackey is horrified. Bare-handed? Leonard just broke his sword and his spirit in one move. Leonard delivers a strike that sends the guy flying into the architecture. That's definitely going to leave a mark. He picks up the guy's badge. Turns out, he was No. 157. Not bad, but definitely not enough to bother Leonard. Leonard realizes there's some secret to the Cardenas bloodline. These kids are too strong for their age, even if they are arrogant. He looks at the other lackey, No. 98, and asks if he still wants to continue. No. 98 is shaking, but his ego won't let him run. I see. Then, as you wish. Leonard decides to finish the lesson. Boom. Another shockwave rips through the courtyard. It's less of a duel and more of a demolition. No. 98's badge flies through the air, landing right in front of a window. An observer in a mask watches the whole thing, noting how Leonard completely toyed with them. He's trying to figure out if Leonard was hiding this strength all along. Suddenly, Leonard looks directly at the window. The observer freezes. He can't believe a trainee noticed him from that distance. This is Owl, the observer of the trainees. He's excited because this year's predictable training just got a major glitch. He writes down No. 381 on his clipboard. He's expecting big things from the kid with the red eyes. Leonard walks away, leaving the trash behind. He's No. 98 now, but he's already looking at the top of the list. The next morning, word is spreading fast. No. 98 is heading for the training grounds, and everyone is terrified. Trainees are literally running out of his way. A guy accidentally bumps into someone and panics because no. 1 is after no. 98. A girl with long blonde hair watches the chaos. She's heard rumors about an incredible kid and realizes they might actually be true. This is Burita, the No 2 trainee. She looks at a high-ranked guy Leonard just dropped. She's unimpressed with the lackey, but intrigued by Leonard. Bam. Leonard is currently working his way through a crowd like he's playing a Dynasty Warriors game. One guy is begging Leonard to join their squad. It's less of an invitation and more of a desperate plea for survival. Leonard spins and rejects them again. He's starting to think William, the No 1 guy, is an idiot for sending so many weaklings. He launches another guy into the air. How many times do I have to say it before he understands? He's genuinely annoyed now. He moves through the field like a ghost, leaving a trail of unconscious bodies. It's efficient, cold, and honestly a bit scary. He snatches the No 25 badge from another elite member. He's climbing the ranks faster than the staff can update the charts. Burita walks up to him, congratulating him on his promotion to No 25. She's remarkably calm compared to everyone else. She stares at him with her golden eyes. I can see it, she says. She's not talking about his badge. She's looking at his soul. Using her clairvoyance, she sees Leonard's internal energy. It's like a massive, burning sun inside his body. She notes the No 25 badge he's holding. She realizes he's not just strong, he's fundamentally different from everyone else. Leonard realizes she has clairvoyance. He's impressed that a kid has reached the level of the mind's eye already. He recognizes it as a powerful trait, worthy of the No 2 spot. But then he asks the big question, why do you hate teaming up so much? Burita warns him that he won't be able to handle tomorrow's training alone. She's being genuine, which is a rare thing in this camp. Leave it at that. A voice cuts through the air. The final boss has entered the chat. It's William the No 1. He looks like he just stepped out of a shampoo commercial and onto a battlefield. He steps on one of his own fallen lackeys, calling him useless trash. Classy. This guy really wants everyone to know he's a villain. Leonard thinks he has charisma. It's the kind of charisma that makes you want to punch him, but it's definitely there. William walks closer, his boots crunching on the dirt. He's been wondering what kind of person Leonard actually is. They finally meet face to face. Leonard offers a fight right now, but William is too busy acting superior to accept. Burita starts laughing. She's never seen anyone treat the No 1 with such casual disrespect. She tells Leonard he's an interesting person. It's safe to say she's a fan of the new guy. She tells them to leave it for tomorrow. Leonard agreed. He's got better things to do than listen to William monologue. William gives him a death stare. Don't regret provoking me, No 25. It's the standard I'll get you next time threat. Leonard just says, fine, and walks away. He's living rent-free in William's head, and he didn't even have to pay a deposit. Leonard realizes there's information only the direct line knows. He needs to find out what joint training actually means. Tomorrow is the big day. The joint training is basically the Hunger Games with swords. The instructors are gathering. They want to know if the trainees are ready for the meat grinder. One instructor notes that a peculiar trainee appeared during squad formation. I wonder who that could be. Meet senior instructor Bruno. He's huge, he's got a beard, and he wants a detailed explanation. The instructor explains that Leonard is going into the training alone, without a squad. Bruno is shocked. Going solo is basically a death sentence. The training is held in the Cardina's Great Forest. It's a massive, dangerous place where nature tries to kill you as much as the other trainees. They have to be self-sufficient, finding food, securing sleep, and hunting. It's a pure survival test. Most trainees have formed factions. A squad is led by No 1, and it's the biggest. B squad is led by Burita, the No 2. C squad is the non-direct line trainees. And D squad is led by No 4. Dylan, who focuses on strategy. Dylan is smiling, looking like he's already won. He's the kind of guy who lets everyone else do the work and takes the credit. Then there's E Squad, the misfits who couldn't fit anywhere else. It's led by No 483, so they're basically doomed. Finally, they look at the last entry, the one-man army. No 25, Leonard Cardenas. He is F Squad, all by himself. He looks like he's ready for a vacation, not a death march. Leonard enters the forest and realizes the place is actually massive. He's trying to map out a strategy in his head. He needs to secure a base early. As he's walking, senior instructor Bruno appears right behind him. Bruno looks at his pack. Leonard only brought water and biscuits. Bruno is worried, but Leonard says it won't be a problem. Leonard bluntly tells him that the survival part is a lie. This is just a fight over badges, and he's going to win. Suddenly, Dylan 4 shows up and asks to speak with Leonard. Bruno lets it happen, probably curious to see the drama. Dylan, with a giant purple snake aura behind him, invites Leonard to join D Squad. He's acting all worried and kind. Leonard tells him to get lost. He's not falling for the fake nice routine from a guy who smells like a snake. He realizes Dylan is a slippery guy who will probably sacrifice him the moment a real monster shows up. Dylan acts confused. He points out that everyone else has a team, and No 1 has over 100 people. He thinks he's being logical. Leonard tells him he doesn't need to explain his reasons. He has zero intention of joining Dylan's little picnic. Dylan's smile turns cold. He realizes why no. One hates Leonard. The kid is too arrogant to be controlled. If words won't work, I'll use force. Dylan decides to skip the talking and go straight to the aggressive recruitment. He lunges at Leonard, trying to catch him off guard. He's surprisingly fast for a strategy guy. Swing. A blur of motion cuts through the air. Dylan's blade is moving for the kill. Leonard dodges effortlessly, his footwork making him look like he's sliding on ice. Dylan is starting to panic. Dylan notes the strange footwork. He's never seen anything like it. It's like Leonard is moving in 3 dimensions, while Dylan is stuck in 2. Kaboom! Blue lightning and energy explode. Dylan is trying to overwhelm him with pure power, but he's hitting nothing. Leonard delivers a strike that Dylan doesn't even see coming. No bloodlust, no hostility, just a cold, perfect hit. Dylan hits the ground hard. His realization hits. Leonard has reached the level of a master assassin at a ridiculously young age. A hand grabs Leonard's shoulder. It's senior instructor Bruno, appearing out of nowhere again. Bruno praises Leonard's movement, but says he can't grant a promotion yet, since it's not a real field fight. He allows Leonard to depart first. Leonard just says understood, and keeps moving. He's got places to be and badges to collect. He thinks about the instructor. He couldn't even feel Bruno's presence until he was touched. There are some monsters in this camp. Leonard realizes that even in his past life, he would have struggled against some of these experts. The power scaling here is insane. He looks back at the youths who have blossomed with talent. He's convinced the Cardenas bloodline is hiding a massive secret. He steps over a branch, his mind already 3 steps ahead. The forest is waiting, and so are his victims. Leonard runs deeper into the woods. Phase 1. Secure a hideout. Phase 2. Become the hunter. The trash? No. 381 is officially dead. The joint training has officially started, and the instructors are already asking for a play-by-play. They love a good disaster. The report comes in, things are moving way faster than usual. Apparently, some kids skipped the survive part of survival training and went straight to the murder part. Group A, led by our favorite narcissist William, didn't even bother looking for a base. They just walked into the woods and started swinging at Group C. Group C got absolutely dismantled. The only one who didn't end up face down in the dirt was No. 3, and she barely managed to scramble away with a few extra holes in her arm. Senior instructor Bruno is actually impressed. He knew William was sharp, but a full-scale surprise attack on day 1 is some high-tier aggression. Bruno figures it out. A big group like A Squad burns through food like a wildfire. William's plan is simple. Win the war before his team realizes they're hungry. It's a smart move, honestly. He utilized his numbers to strike, while everyone else was still trying to figure out how to pitch a tent. Now Bruno wants the tea on groups B and D. He's like a gossip columnist, but with more armor. Turns out, Burita and Dylan aren't idiots. They saw Group C get turned into a cautionary tale and decided to team up. It's the anyone but William coalition. Bruno thinks they're promising. It's rare to see kids prioritize survival over their own massive egos this early in the game. Then, he turns his gaze to instructor Colin. She was in charge of monitoring the leftover groups, including our boy Leonard. Colin looks stressed. Explaining what Leonard is doing is like trying to explain a glitch in a video game to a tech support person who's never seen a computer. She pulls out Leonard's file. She doesn't even know where to begin. He's doing things is probably the most accurate summary she could give. We see why. Colin is supposed to be a master of hidden presence, but Leonard is just standing by a cave, looking directly at the tree she's hiding behind. She's having an internal crisis. Her stealth technique is top tier, yet this kid is tracking her like she's wearing a neon sign and bells. Leonard turns around and casually says, I have a question. Imagine being a master assassin and getting outspotted by a trainee with a wooden sword. He knew she was there the whole time. He's just been waiting for her to stop being weird so he could ask for advice. Colin finally gives up and steps out. She's trying to maintain her cool instructor vibe, but it's a bit late for that. Leonard points to a cave. He wants to use it as his hotel for the week, but he notices it already has a master living inside. Growl. A massive blue wolf steps out. It's a dire wolf, and it looks like it hasn't had breakfast yet. Colin explains that it's a Cardenas-tamed beast, meant to keep trainees away. In her head, she's thinking there's no way a kid can take this thing alone. She decides to let him try, figuring she can jump in and save him once he starts getting chewed on. She really underestimates Leonard's built different energy. She tells him if he can defeat it, he can have the cave. She's basically gambling with his life. But hey, that's Cardenas parenting for you. The wolf lunges. It's fast, it's angry, and it's very large. Most kids would be screaming for their moms right about now. Leonard just steps to the side like he's dodging a slow-moving shopping cart. He's making the apex predator look like a clumsy puppy. Good movement for a pet, he says. He's actually critiquing the wolf's form while it's trying to eat his face. He tells the wolf he needs the cave for a nap and asks it to leave. He's being very polite about the fact that he's about to knock it out. The wolf snaps. It's offended that this tiny human isn't terrified. It's going for the kill now. It's a whirlwind of claws and teeth. The ground is getting shredded, but Leonard is still just standing there. The wolf is absolutely fuming. Its killing intent is spiking, which usually works on people with, a sense of self-preservation. Leonard realizes the wolf has lost its reason. It's no longer a tamed pet, it's a wild beast. That means the kid gloves are coming off. He tightens his grip on his practice sword. He realizes if he holds back and gets hurt, it'll just be more paperwork for the instructor. WAM. The wolf pounces, but Leonard is already midair. He's moving with the kind of speed that shouldn't be physically possible for his rank. The wolf's jaws are inches from him. Leonard looks it in the eye and basically asks, "Do you really think it's that easy?" Kick. He delivers a strike so precise it looks like a surgical procedure. The wolf's head hits the dirt with a satisfying thud. Colin is speechless. He overwhelmed a dire wolf in an instant. She's starting to wonder if Leonard is actually a 40-year-old master in a kid's costume. Later, we see the cave is quiet. The master has been evicted, and the new tenant has moved in. Wait, the wolf is back, but it's not attacking. Leonard points a finger and says, "Sit." The dire wolf sits. Then it rolls over. Then it offers a paw. Leonard just accidentally adopted a 500-pound murder puppy. He asks Colin if he can keep it for the training. He's treating a legendary beast like a stray cat he found in the park. Colin is having a stroke. Taming a dire wolf is difficult, she stammers. Meanwhile, Leonard is literally using it as a fuzzy armchair. She allows it, mostly because she's too scared to say no to the kid who just bullied a wolf. But she bans it from fighting other trainees. Leonard is fine with that. He didn't want the wolf for combat. He just wanted someone to carry his stuff and maybe provide some warmth at night. He looks at the wolf and thinks about how useful its instincts will be. He's playing the long game while everyone else is playing tag. Shall we get into the training for real? He sends the wolf off to find food. It's officially the start of the Leonard and Wolfie show. They reach a fork in the road. Leonard decides to split up. He's the first person in history to tell a wolf to go do its own thing and meet back for dinner. Go, he says. The wolf sprints off, probably just happy it's not being kicked anymore. Switching scenes, we see a trainee crying on the ground. "You monster," he whispers. Someone's been having a very bad day. It's William. He's standing over a pile of defeated trainees, looking disappointed. He's mad because he's running out of pocket space for all the badges he's stealing. He tells the remaining survivors they're lucky. "I'll make sure you drop out the next time we meet." He's like a recurring villain who forgot to leave. The survivor is No 438. He's the leader of Group E, the squad for kids who are too weak to be useful but too stubborn to go home. He's devastated. His entire group got beaten by one guy. It's a massive reality check for the trash tier. He was forced to be the leader, and now he's wondering what he's even supposed to do. He's a relatable protagonist for anyone who's ever been picked last for gym class. His squad is falling apart. They were lucky to be saved by William's boredom, but they know the next encounter is the end. He tries to rally them. "Everyone, let's just find some food!" It's a pathetic rallying cry, but it's all he's got. Suddenly, his squad members freeze. Their faces go pale. No. 438 wonders what's with the scary faces. A massive shadow towers over him. It's a bear. A very big, very hungry bear. Turns out, finding food works both ways. He realizes he's about to become a snack. It's a pretty humiliating way to go out, honestly. We ham. Something slams into the bear from above. A blur of movement and a red cloak. Wait, that's not a cloak, it's just pure aura. The bear groans. It just got hit by the human equivalent of a meteor. Boom. A massive strike lands right on the bear's head. The predator just became the prey. No. 438 looks up, his eyes wide. You're... He recognizes the kid with the red eyes, who's been the talk of the camp. Leonard stands over the dead bear like it's just a rug he's testing out. He looks completely bored by the whole ordeal. Number 25, the weaklings are stunned. Their savior is the very guy they were terrified of meeting. The leader of Group E starts screaming, "You cold-blooded monster! What else are you trying to take from us?" He thinks Leonard killed the bear just to steal the kill. He's crying about his rations and his pride. Meanwhile, the bear is just lying there with cartoonish swirls in its eyes. Leonard just stares at him and asks, "Are you all right?" He's being genuinely nice, which is confusing everyone involved. The leader stops mid-rant. He wasn't prepared for the monster to actually care about his well-being. "I asked if you were all right." Leonard repeats it slowly, like he's talking to a particularly slow toddler. The guy confirms they aren't hurt. Then, he asks why Leonard didn't steal their badges. It's like he's disappointed he wasn't robbed. Leonard shrugs. "It looked dangerous, so I just came to help." He's the only person in this forest who's not acting like a psychopath. He explains that his goal isn't winning or losing, it's training. He can find his own food. He doesn't need to steal from people who are already struggling to breathe. Besides, if I wanted to win, I'd pick the right opponents to beat. Translation, you guys are too weak to be worth the effort. Savage. The leader finally puts 2 and 2 together. This is the kid who climbed 350 ranks in 3 days. He realized he's in the presence of a legend. He bows and says they owe him one. He's grateful they didn't get eliminated on day 1 by a bear with an attitude. Suddenly, a low thump echoes through the woods. Something big is coming. Again, the wolf is back, and it's carrying something in its mouth. The weaklings start screaming again because they apparently have no short-term memory. "Sit," Leonard says. The wolf immediately drops its cargo and sits. The kids are paralyzed with fear. The wolf just looks at them with big, innocent eyes. It's currently carrying a person like a oversized chew toy. Leonard looks at the body the wolf just dropped. It's a girl with long blue hair. No. 3. Leonard recognizes her. She's the leader of Group C, who survived William's ambush. The Group E leader is shocked. No. 3 is a beast on the battlefield. Seeing her this beaten up is a wake-up call for everyone. The wolf is scary, But Leonard? Leonard is scarier. He's the one who turned a direwolf into a delivery driver. Leonard checks her wounds. They're deep. He's trying to figure out if it was a monster or one of the top ranks who did this. He turns to No, 438, and asks if he really doesn't want to be eliminated. The guy gets defensive, expecting an insult. Instead, Leonard points to the bear. Then, instead of a badge, I'll give you that. He's giving them enough meat to last a month. He's basically the forest's Santa Claus. Our transaction is complete. Don't let numbers dictate everything. He gives them a bit of emperor-level wisdom before heading out. He walks away with his wolf, leaving Group E with a mountain of meat and a new outlook on life. The leader wonders if Leonard was a good guy all along. Leonard is thinking, I feel like there's a weird misunderstanding here. He just wanted the bear out of the way. Back at the cave, No. 3 finally wakes up. She's on a bed, she's bandaged, and she's very confused. She sits up and asks the eternal question, where am I? Classic amnesia tropes, but with better lighting. She sees the bandages on her arm and wonders who saved her. She's a warrior, so her first instinct is, how do I kill them if they're a threat? Are you awake? Leonard's voice echoes through the cave. She snaps her head around, ready for a fight. She kicks the blanket off and launches herself at him. She's got a lot of energy for someone who was a chew toy 10 minutes ago. WH hack. Leonard blocks her high kick with his forearm. He's not even looking at her. He's just judging her technique. Your legs seem fine, he notes. He tells her to stop wasting energy and get some rest. She's screaming for her badge back, acting like a cornered cat. Leonard just stares at her with his deadpan, I'm over this face. She realizes her badge is still on her chest. He didn't take it. She's embarrassed now, which is a nice change of pace. She walks over to him, feeling a bit silly for trying to kick her savior in the head. She thanks him for saving her, but insists she can't hand over her badge. Leonard just sighs. I never intended to steal it anyway. He hands her a skewer of bear meat. Sit over here and eat. He's using his big brother voice, and it's surprisingly effective. She hesitates, then starts eating like she hasn't seen food in a decade. Leonard notes that a kid was starving, so he had to feed her something. He asks what happened to her group. He knows they were Group C, and he wants to know who the monster was. No, she says. It wasn't a monster. It was something much worse. She grits her teeth as she remembers the massacre. Her group had just set up their base when the nightmare started. It was an ambush by Group A. It was a one-sided slaughter. She calls herself pathetic for not being able to do anything as a leader. Leonard thinks for a second. In a one-on-one, she might have won, but a battle against a small army is a different story. He realizes William used preemptive suppression and ambushes. It's a ruthless strategy, especially for a group of kids. He asks if No. 1 was the one who hurt her arm. He's gathering intel on the competition. She confirms it. Even compared to No. 2. No, 1 is on a completely different level. She's realized that Group A is currently unstoppable. She's frustrated and angry. Leonard smiles. He likes that her spirit hasn't faded, even after a total defeat. She's going to become a fine warrior, he thinks. But for now, they have a bad situation to handle. She suggests an alliance with B and D squads. Leonard notes that their morale is high right now, which is a dangerous combination. Good grief, to think they'd go this far against kids. Leonard realizes William is playing for keeps. Let's target Group A's weakness, Leonard says. No. 3 is confused. What exactly is Group A's weakness? Leonard looms over a mental image of William. We will focus all our attacks on No. 1. He's going for the head of the snake. He explains the logic. Group A functions entirely around William. He's the central pillar. The moment that pillar snaps, they'll become a disorganized mob. It's basic strategy, but Leonard is the only one brave enough to try it. He asks her if she wants revenge on No. 1. Her answer is a very loud, of course I do. Then trust me. Leonard's red eyes are glowing in the firelight. He's got that I've conquered worlds before look again. She stares at him, realizing this rank 25 kid is something truly special. In that case, should I call you leader? The alliance is formed. The Emperor has his first night, and William has a very bad week coming his way. The plan is in motion. William's squad is marching through the woods, looking like they own the place, but they're about to find out that being No. 1 doesn't protect you from a well-timed ambush. William is acting all calm, telling his lackey No. 5 that victory is certain as long as they stay the course. He's very confident for a guy who's about to get his day ruined. He senses something is off though. Even a spoiled prince like him knows when the air feels a bit too quiet. His eyes sharpen. You can almost see the gears turning in his head. He realizes they're being watched. Halt, he shouts, raising his fist like he's in a movie. He tells his team to get ready for a fight, acting like he's doing them a favor by noticing the obvious. The boots of his squad come to a grinding halt. The tension is thick enough to cut with a sword, which is convenient because there are a lot of swords. William starts monologuing, telling whoever is hiding to just give up. He thinks he's being merciful, but it really just sounds like he's bored of winning. He demands they come out of the shadows. The leaves rustle, and for a second, it feels like the forest itself is responding to his ego. Suddenly, Leonard and his crew reveal themselves. William looks impressed that Leonard's nose is sharp enough to find him. Or maybe he just thinks Leonard is a very persistent dog. Enter the VIPs. Burita and Dylan walk out with that "we're better than you" stride. Burita is still rank 2, and Dylan is rank 4, making this a very high-stakes family reunion. William mocks them, saying that if you're at the top, you can read the thoughts of those below. It's a great line, mostly because it's going to be very embarrassing when he loses. William looks at Leonard with a mix of curiosity and annoyance. He can't wrap his head around why someone of Leonard's caliber is hanging out with the trash. Burita looks down at Leonard Leonard with a smile that's about as warm as an ice cube. She calls him a disgrace to the Cardenas family, which is her way of saying hello. Dylan joins in, asking if Leonard likes acting high and mighty. He calls Leonard a peacock, which is a weird insult, coming from a guy wearing a bright red tie in the middle of a forest. Leonard isn't having it. He basically tells Burita she's brainless, and that this is what real dignity looks like. He's not here for the banter, he's here for the badges. The ground literally explodes as the fight kicks off. No more talking, just high-speed movement and a lot of dust. The impact is massive. Sparks fly as Leonard clashes with the elite ranks. It's one guy against the hierarchy, and the hierarchy is starting to sweat. The orders are given, decimate Team A. Leonard's allies charge in, looking way more motivated than a group of low rankers should be. William's team tries to solidify their defense. They've got the numbers, but they're fighting people who have nothing left to lose, which is a dangerous combination. It's a complete melee. Punches are flying, swords are clashing, and the weak are proving they can bite back when cornered. Burita is stunned. She's trying to figure out Leonard's trait, because every strike he lands feels like getting hit by a runaway truck. Her wrists are throbbing, even though she's guarding. She realizes she can't even see his movements with her special eyes, which is a pretty big uh-oh moment for her. William is watching this, finally starting to realize that Leonard isn't just some Lucky Branch family kid. He's looking at Leonard like he's a monster. The power gap he thought existed is disappearing faster than his squad's morale. Leonard catches a massive strike with one hand. He asks them if they came all this way just to show him some petty tricks. The disrespect is top tier. One of the elites is sent flying back, gasping for air. Leonard is barely breaking a sweat while everyone else is fighting for their lives. He slams into an opponent with the force of a wrecking ball. It's not just about strength, it's about the fact that he knows exactly where to hit to make it hurt the most. Burita sees what she thinks is an opening. She lunges forward, thinking she finally caught the ghost. She thinks he can't defend his rear, but Leonard is just standing there like he's waiting for a bus. She can see his muscles moving, but she's miscalculating the speed. Wait. The opening is too large. Her mind's eye finally kicks in, and she realizes she's just walked into a trap. She realizes he intended this from the very beginning. Leonard isn't reacting to her, he's leading her. A massive beam of light or energy erupts as Leonard shuts her down. It's a clean, decisive counter that leaves no room for debate. William watches her fall. He casually mentions that she was better than Dylan, but she was still too slow to see reality. Thanks for the support, William. He mocks her special eyes, saying they aren't so perfect after all. He's basically roasting his own teammates while they're on the ground. William claims he can see Leonard's movements slowly, unlike the others. His ego is so big, it's a wonder he can move at all. He lands a strike that sends Burita crashing down. She lets out a scream as she realizes her rank doesn't mean anything in this forest. William stands over her, telling her she didn't amount to much despite all her provocations. It's brutal, even for him. He demands she admit defeat. He's standing there like a conqueror, but he's forgotten there's still one person left on the board. I am the winner, William declares. It's a bold claim to make when the main character is standing 5 feet away, looking unimpressed. Leonard walks up, dragging someone behind him. The look on William's face says it all. His perfect victory just hit a massive speed bump. Leonard is casually dragging rank 5 through the dirt like he's taking out the trash. It's the ultimate power move. William screams, asking what Leonard is doing here. Leonard just shrugs and says it's nothing major, he's just here for some payback. He drops rank 5 at William's feet. The guy is out cold, serving as a very loud message that William's elite squad isn't so elite anymore. William is losing his mind, shouting that Leonard shouldn't even have a team. He can't handle the fact that the trash is organized. Leonard calmly explains that he didn't have a team at first, but things change. He's basically the CEO of Team Underdog now. Suddenly, a massive roar of voices echoes through the forest. William looks around, confused and probably a little bit scared. Leonard tells him to look. Squad E, the people William called worthless, are absolutely demolishing his remaining troops. It's a chaotic mess. The high rankers are being overwhelmed by the sheer willpower and coordination of the people they looked down on. Leonard calls it the rebellion of the weak. It's poetic, mostly because it involves a lot of people getting hit with wooden swords. One of the low rankers holds up a captured badge, cheering at the top of his lungs. He looks like he just won the lottery. They've even taken down a massive bear. They realize that as long as they have each other, they can actually survive this nightmare. The forest is filled with cheers for number 25. Leonard has officially become a legend among the commoners. Flashback to the Alliance, Leonard and No 3 approach the low rankers. They look terrified, thinking Leonard is there to steal their lunches. Leonard reaches out a hand and asks them to form an alliance. The guy from Squad E is confused, thinking they'd just be a burden. He tells Leonard they're weak, but Leonard asks him if he's forgotten what he told them before. Leonard gives a speech about not being bound by numbers. He reminds them that they've all gone through the same brutal Cardenas training. He calls the rank a name tag and nothing more. The Squad E guy is skeptical. He's been told he's trash his whole life. Leonard tells them they have the blood and the talent. He's basically the best motivational speaker in the Empire. He explains that only a few people manifest special traits, but overall, their actual skills aren't that different. It's a very logical way to tell someone they're not a loser. He uses himself and No 3 as examples. They both crawled their way up from the bottom. The numbers didn't define them. Their effort did. The Squad E leader starts to get fired up. He realizes that the only thing stopping him was his own belief that he couldn't win. Leonard challenges them to believe in themselves and resolve to just do it. He says if they can't believe in themselves, he'll do it for them. He makes an official proposal to Team E. It's a moment that changes the entire power structure of the camp. why don't you try defeating number 1 with us? He asks. It's the kind of invitation you don't turn down, especially when the guy asking can catch swords with his bare hands. Back in the present, no. 3 leads the charge. She's standing on a fallen enemy, shouting for everyone to seize victory. She's really leaning into the drama. Dylan is disgusted, asking how she could team up with people below her. She just laughs and asks what he means by below. She recounts how she fought Leonard, and he caught her kick like it was a fly. She's realized that rank doesn't equal true power. Leonard stays quiet, but his presence is louder than any shout. He's the center of the storm. William is fuming. He's seeing his empire crumble because one guy decided to be nice to the trash. It's a bad day to be a snob. A laugh echoes through the trees. It's not Leonard, it's the situation itself that's becoming ridiculous. Burrita suddenly waves the white flag. She surrenders and asks to join Team F. She's a pragmatist. She knows when a ship is sinking. Dylan follows suit. He'd rather surrender to Leonard than lose to someone he actually hates. Talk about loyalty. He laughs, admitting that losing to Leonard is better than the alternative. It's a pathetic move, but hey, it's Dylan. William is livid. He can't believe his own elite peers are jumping ship. He looks like he's about to have a literal stroke. He screams at them, asking if they have any pride as Cardenas blood members. He's standing alone on a log, which is a great metaphor for his current situation. Someone tells him to stop being stubborn and admit defeat. William grinds his teeth so hard, you can almost hear them cracking. He turns his focus to Leonard. This is personal now. All the ranks, all the soldiers, it doesn't matter. It's just them. He points his sword at Leonard and challenges him to a duel, right here, right now. He's putting everything on the line to save his ego. I'll make you realize the difference in our strength, he yells. He's trying to sound intimidating, but he mostly just sounds desperate. Leonard gives a small, dangerous smile. He intended to do this from the very start. He's been waiting for William to stop hiding behind his lackeys. He grips his sword, his muscles tensing. He's not just a trainee anymore. He's the sword emperor again. Come at me, Leonard says. He's glowing with mana, and the forest itself seems to hold its breath. This isn't a training exercise anymore. It's a reckoning. Hashtag Chapter 8, Script. The stage is set for the final boss fight. Rank 1 versus Rank 25. The instructors are watching through a magic screen, realizing this match is the only thing that matters anymore. They're wondering if William will win as expected, or if a new star is about to pull off the ultimate upset. Place your bets, folks. They clash. The sound is like a thunderclap. This isn't a fight, it's two physical laws trying to occupy the same space. William's destructive power is insane. He's swinging with a level of force that would turn an ordinary person into a pancake. Leonard realizes that just defending will leave his arms numb from fatigue. William is fast, but Leonard has something better. Experience. Leonard thinks William is still just a trainee. He has power, but his movements are as predictable as a Saturday morning cartoon. William unleashes a wave of pressure. He's confused why Leonard is still standing. Usually, people just fall over when he gets serious. Leonard looks him right in the eye. He saw through an attack from an unexpected angle like it was nothing. William's secret moves aren't working. Bruno is watching from the shadows, looking genuinely surprised. It takes a lot to impress a man with a beard that majestic. He notes that Leonard saw through William's technique in a record-breaking amount of time. It's like watching a grandmaster play a beginner. Bruno is baffled. How can a person who didn't even have qualities do things that were impossible for rank 2? He's starting to realize Leonard is a glitch in the system. William realizes something too. Leonard isn't just using physical strength. There's a flow to his movements that he can't quite grasp. Here it is. William's trait, psychokinesis, an invisible, formless power that lets him cheat physics. He's moving his sword through the air without even touching it. It's a cool trick, if you're into that sort of thing. He lunges at Leonard, trying to overwhelm him with attacks coming from every direction at once. It's like fighting a blender. Leonard just weaves through it. He's not even moving that much. He's just moving perfectly. It's the ultimate, work smarter, not harder. The narration explains it. William imbues his arms and his sword with psychokinesis, allowing him to strike from trajectories that should be impossible. It's a power that can't be countered by common sense. Luckily, Leonard has never been big on common sense. William is shocked. You saw through my power? He screams. Yes, William. We've established that he's better than you. They clash again. The impact creates a shockwave that probably knocked over every bird's nest in a 5-mile radius. William realizes Leonard was hiding his true strength this whole time. He's feeling that special kind of anger you get when you realize you're the side character. Why were you hiding it? He yells. Probably because it's more fun to watch you struggle, William. Leonard's response is cold. I'll answer that with my sword. Classic protagonist line. 10-10. William's aura flares up, showing the crest of the Sword Duke. He's trying to call upon his family's legacy to win a fight he's already losing. He gives a manic grin and prepares his final move. He's gone full anime villain now. Leonard just stares him down. He's seen gods fall. A teenager with a fancy sword isn't exactly a threat. William uses his psychokinesis to rip up the ground itself. He's literally throwing the forest at Leonard. He tells Leonard not to think badly of him. He's confident again, which is a bad sign for his future health. Leonard tells him to show more. He's literally asking for the boss's second phase. He's built different. William obliges. He flares up with a blue fire aura. He's putting every ounce of mana he has into this final strike. Leonard thinks to himself, in this weakened body, I can't put out the same power I once did. It's a reminder that he's still technically a kid. He grips his wooden sword. He can't afford to draw attention with flashy external force, so he has to do it the old-fashioned way. His eyes glow with a fierce light. The only thing he has to do is cut William down. Simple, effective, and very violent. The two collide in a massive explosion of mana and dirt. It's the climax of the entire survival test. William is amazed by Leonard's speed. He's throwing everything he has, but he can't land a clean hit. Then how about this? He shouts, throwing another wave of psychokinetic energy. He's really committed to this invisible sword thing. He hits a tree instead. The tree was innocent, William. Have some respect for nature. Leonard flips through the air, dodging a strike that would have decapitated him. He's making this look like a choreographed dance. No. 3 and Dylan are watching from the sidelines. Dylan is still confused, proving that he really is the slowest person in the group. No. 3 explains that William is using an invisible power. Dylan calls it cowardly, which is rich coming from a guy whose trait is snake aura. She notes that Leonard is dodging everything. It's like he can see the invisible energy, which he can, because he's a literal sword god. She points out that Leonard is actually the one hiding his strength. He's playing with his food. William notices it too. Leonard is slowly getting closer. It's like watching a horror movie villain walk towards you at a brisk pace. Back at the camp, a random guy thinks Leonard is just running around. Bruno corrects him. It's intentional. Bruno explains that Leonard is making it look like he's just dodging, so that William doesn't realize he's being cornered. Leonard is closing the distance inch by inch. William is sweating now. His perfect defense is about to be breached. Leonard suddenly appears right in front of him. When did you? William doesn't even have time to finish his sentence. It's your loss, number 1, Leonard says. It's the verbal equivalent of a knockout punch. Leonard lands a strike so powerful, it creates a literal crater. William is sent flying through the air like a discarded toy. William can't believe it. Me? Impossible! He's having a crisis of faith while mid-air. He's losing to an underdog. His entire worldview is shattering along with his ribs. The impact is massive. A pillar of light and dust shoots up, signaling the end of the fight and the end of William's reign. William is on the ground, staring at the sky. I really lost? Yes, William. Very badly. He sees Leonard standing over him. For a second, it doesn't look like defeat. It looks like something much scarier. He sees the image of death itself behind Leonard. He realizes that if this were a real battle, he'd be a memory right now. Leonard just stands there, calm and collected. He's not even gloating. He's just finished with his task. William starts laughing. It's a bit unhinged, but he's finally snapped out of his ego trip. It's my loss, he finally admits. The 3 elites, Burita, William, and Dylan, all look at Leonard with a new sense of respect and terror. The low rankers go wild. They're cheering so loud the trees are shaking. The trash just beat the king. Leonard walks away from the crater. He's the undisputed MVP of the forest. Bruno is watching the screen, looking satisfied. He's seen something today that he'll probably be talking about for years. William sits up and thanks Leonard. He says he feels refreshed, which is a very weird way to describe being beaten into the dirt. Leonard is confused. He didn't expect the guy he just humiliated to be grateful. William explains that his father's overbearing expectations and his own conviction that he had to be the strongest were crushing him. He says all of that just got blown away. He looks like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders, mostly because Leonard physically knocked the weight off him. He reaches out a hand. He's not rank 1 right now. He's just a guy who realized he has a long way to go. It was a good match, he says. He's finally acting like a human being instead of a statue. Leonard gives a small sigh and a smile. He's accidentally reformed the biggest jerk in the camp. They shake hands. It's a moment of mutual respect that signals the end of the hostility within the trainee group. Congratulations, someone says. The air is clear, the sun is shining, and the hierarchy has been effectively dismantled. Back at the camp, the observers are in total shock. They can't believe number 1 actually lost. Their world is upside down. One of the lackeys is crying because he probably bet all his lunch money on William. Sucks to be you, buddy. Bruno is smiling. He calls it a great harvest. He's found something way more valuable than just a strong trainee. He's found a monster. The outdoor training officially ends. Leonard's teammates are swarming him, cheering and probably trying to lift him up. He looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. Dylan and Burita admit that they have no choice but to acknowledge Squad E. They've earned their place at the table. The trainees are all cheering for number 25. He's the hero of the hour, even if he's trying to hide his face in his hands. Bruno notes that Leonard accurately saw through the intent of the training. He didn't just survive, he mastered it. He says it's a more satisfying result than he could have imagined. He's very happy for a guy who just watched a massive military exercise turn into a peasant revolt. He tells the others to prepare to return once everyone's excitement dies down. The forest arc is officially over. But the real story is just beginning. Bruno sends a letter to the main house. The coming-of-age ceremony is arriving. And if you thought the forest was crazy, wait until Leonard meets the adults. The adventure is just starting, and Leonard's already making life-changing decisions. He's saying goodbye to his giant pet wolf, telling the big fluffball that he can't take him along on the next leg of the journey. The wolf is literally whining like a puppy that just lost its favorite chew toy. It's a 500-pound killing machine, but Leonard has it acting like a heartbroken golden retriever. Leonard looks at the beast with a genuine smile, asking if it's sad to see him go. He's probably the only person in this world who can tease a monster and get away with it. He sits there under a massive full moon, promising the wolf that he feels the same way. It's a quiet moment before the world starts getting loud again. Leonard pets the wolf's snout, apologizing for leaving it behind. He's got that main character look in his eyes, the kind that says he's got a plan for everything. He makes a solemn promise he's going to get stronger and come back to pick the wolf up. When the Sword Emperor gives you his word, you better believe he's keeping it. The wolf lets out a happy howl, its tongue hanging out like it's just been told it's a very good boy. It's the most wholesome moment Leonard's had since he stopped being a professional punching bag. Leonard turns his back and starts walking away, telling the wolf it better get stronger too if it wants to keep up with him. He's heading toward a carriage, leaving the wild behind for a different kind of jungle, the aristocracy. As he looks back at the howling wolf, he promises to give it a name the next time they meet. Nothing says you're officially part of the team like a naming ceremony. Cut to the carriage, where the vibe is awkward, to say the least. Leonard is sitting across from William, the guy he recently pancaked into the dirt, and they're both just staring into space. Leonard finally breaks the silence, asking why everyone is in his carriage. He's got Burrito, Dylan, and No 3, all acting like they're on a school field trip. They all have their own excuses. No. 3 is following her squad leader, Burrito wants to be near the main character, and Dylan claims he's part of the squad now. Basically, they've all collectively decided to ride Leonard's coattails. William chimes in, saying he just wants to talk to the guy who climbed from rank 381 to the top in a month. The girls look at him like he's finally developed a brain, which, honestly, is a fair reaction. William tells Leonard he has something important to say. Leonard just gives him a look that says, "This better be quick, I have a world to conquer." William is actually trying to be a mentor now, which is hilarious given he lost a fight to a wooden stick. He tells the others to shut up so he can drop some knowledge. He explains that starting tomorrow, their grades will determine their supplies. It's survival of the fittest, but with better outfits and actual food. The Blood Awakening ceremony is the big event on the horizon. This is the moment they activate the special organs in the Cardina's bloodline, turning them into true martial artists. William shows a diagram of a human body filled with red energy. It's a ritual to awaken these organs, which apparently distinguish them from normal humans. The group realizes that all the training they've done so far was just the warm-up. Dylan asks what actually happens when those organs wake up. William explains that it allows them to control mana more freely. The carriage wheels are turning, and so are the stakes for everyone inside. This is why things like spirit fruits were banned in the facility. They were making sure everyone had the basics down before they started eating magic snacks. Only after the ceremony do you join the Young Dragon Knights. Dylan's mind is blown. He's never even heard of the Young Dragon Knights. William tells him they aren't public knowledge. Officially, there are only 7 Knight Orders in the Empire. The Young Dragon Knights specialize in practical combat and designing custom training for each prodigy. Burrito is excited about getting a taste of real battle. William gets into the nitty-gritty, the special organs. Everyone has a mana core, but the attributes and numbers vary from person to person. It's like a genetic lottery, but with fire and water. No. 3 flexes, mentioning that dragon blood flows in the Cardina's veins. They don't know if it's literal, but it sounds cool, so they roll with it. William drops the pro tip. The fewer cores you have, the better. A single core is considered the absolute peak of talent. He strikes a smug pose, announcing that he is, of course, a single core. He's back to his arrogant self, even if it's just for a second. Burrito tells Leonard not to believe him too much, noting that single cores only appear once every 10 years. William is basically bragging about being a statistical anomaly. Leonard starts reflecting on his past life. He did similar training as Ren, but his soul source was based on the 5 elements. He wonders if he might have 5 cores in total, a pentacore. Burrito jumps in, saying that pentacores are the least efficient thing in existence. She explains that for every core you add, you need double the resources and have to balance them perfectly. It's like trying to juggle 5 chainsaws while riding a unicycle. We get a visual of the training load. A single core has 1 box to carry, a triple core has a stack, and a pentacore? They have to carry 25 times the load of a single core. It's a training nightmare that usually leads to 0 progress. The group thinks the idea of a pentacore is terrifying. Leonard realizes William never paid attention in theory class because he's too busy being strong in real combat. The girls laugh it off, saying if you're strong enough, you don't need books. William looks embarrassed, which is a rare and beautiful sight. Leonard realizes that if the training system here works like his old world, having 5 cores is actually a massive opportunity. If he can train all of them, he'll be the strongest person on the planet. Dylan points out the catch. Even if it's theoretically powerful, getting the resources to train 5 cores is basically impossible. You'd need an entire kingdom's treasury just to reach the mid-tiers. William is still bragging about his single core status. Burrito tells someone to shut him up while Leonard stares at him, realizing he might be the one disadvantage the world threw at him. The ceremony happens off-screen, and the result is announced, Leonard, pentacore. The crowd is stunned. It's like finding out the valedictorian is actually a college dropout. People are shocked. They can't believe the kid with heavenly talent for the sword got the trashiest bloodline talent. Leonard just sighs. He's standing out for all the wrong reasons now. Leonard stands alone in a massive, ornate hall. He's holding a sword, looking at the sunlight streaming through the windows. He's already planning his next move. He scratches his head, thinking about how this wasn't his intention. He's officially the disappointment of the family again, which is exactly how he likes it. Low expectations mean more room to surprise people. Suddenly, Leonard senses something. His eyes sharpen. Someone is approaching, and they're not trying to be quiet. A blur of movement speeds through the hall. Leonard doesn't even flinch. He just watches the intruder with a calm, analytical gaze. Impressive, a voice says. A man in heavy silver armor and a red cape walks up. This is Captain Fabian, and he's clearly a big deal. Fabian is shocked that a kid Leonard's age can see his sword movements. He's glowing with green mana, testing the rookie's reaction speed. He introduces himself as the captain of the Young Dragon Knights. He's heard the rumors about number 381 and wanted to see the legend for himself. Leonard introduces himself formally. Fabian is genuinely impressed that someone so young can keep their composure in front of a swordmaster. Fabian notes that Leonard's posture and movements are perfect, even without using haki. Leonard simply replies that martial arts are built with the heart and polished with the body. Fabian looks at him like he just recited a holy scripture. He believes that the presence of haki is irrelevant to the perfection of the art. Fabian lets out a massive laugh, his voice booming through the hall. He loves Leonard's attitude. He's a loud and proud kind of mentor. He tells Leonard that the rumors were an understatement. He likes the kid's good attitude, which is a polite way of saying Leonard is a badass. Fabian stakes his name and rank on a promise. He's officially taking Leonard under his wing, which is the equivalent of getting a VIP pass to the Empire's best training. He judges Leonard to be special class. Leonard looks surprised. He didn't think he'd get the red carpet treatment after failing the core test. His lackey reminds him that Leonard is a pentacore. Fabian doesn't care. He knows talent when he sees it, and cores are just numbers to him. The number of cores doesn't matter, he shouts. He's the kind of guy who thinks you can solve any problem by hitting it hard enough. He tells Leonard to ignore the trivial matters and invest fully in his talent. He's basically telling Leonard to ignore the haters and keep being awesome. He hands Leonard a 4-dimensional bag. It's packed with supplies. It's like a bottomless backpack for the ultimate loot grinder. As a special class trainee, Leonard gets to choose his own training ground. Fabian is giving him the keys to the kingdom. They enter a hall filled with glowing purple doors. Each one leads to a different training facility. It looks like a high-end magic mall. Normally, the instructors choose for the trainees. But for Leonard, Fabian is giving him total freedom. Leonard asks a very smart question. Which place offers resources that match my actual strength? He's not looking for an easy A, he's looking for a challenge. Fabian loves the question. He says a true martial artist must walk the path of Shura, the path of constant, brutal struggle. He points to a dark, ominous door. In that case, go to Carabagos. Even the name sounds like a place where you go to die. We get a map. Carabagos is the most remote island in the Empire. It's basically the Empire's version of Death Row Island. It's an environment so harsh that even knighted veterans surrender. It's a land of monsters, magical forests, and constant danger, perfect for a vacation. We see a massive, multi-eyed monster devouring a wolf. Yeah, this place is definitely not for the faint of heart. Fabian asks if it's exciting. Leonard, being the absolute madman he is, just thanks him for the consideration. He's actually looking forward to it. Leonard reflects on why pentacore training is so hard. People just don't know the proper method. But he knows that the 5 elements are all part of a single mass. He gives a confident smirk. This is his perfect chance to surpass his previous life. He's not just building a body, he's building a god. Leonard walks through the glowing portal, his massive backpack looking like it weighs more than he does. Fabian wishes him luck. He's going to need it. Leonard steps out onto the island, squinting at the bright light. He's officially in the danger zone. The view is breathtaking, a massive, lush forest that looks beautiful until you realize everything in it wants to eat you. Welcome to Carabagos. A voice says, welcome from the shadows. Leonard turns around, his hand already near his sword. He's not letting his guard down for a second. A man in a green cloak, Bradley, walks out. He's surprised that Leonard is the rookie everyone's talking about. He's got that, I've seen too many kids die here, look in his eyes. Hashtag Chapter 10 script. Leonard introduces himself with a polite bow. He's a special class rookie, but he still knows how to show respect to the guy who's currently keeping him alive. Bradley introduces himself. He's a senior knight of the Basilisk Squad. He's the one in charge of this monster-infested paradise. Bradley tells him to move. He's checking if Leonard has run into any of the other trainees yet. Leonard says no. He just got here. Bradley explains that everyone here is an apprentice knight. He tells Leonard to show his seniors some respect. Leonard thinks to himself that the way Bradley phrased it makes it sound like respect is optional. He tells Leonard not to be intimidated by the others. There's a rule preventing seniors from interfering with first-year rookies. It's basically a no bullying policy, but with swords. Leonard will spend 6 months under Bradley's protection. After that, he's on his own. It's a sink or swim situation, and Leonard is a champion swimmer. Normally, Bradley wouldn't care about Leonard's food or shelter. But since Leonard is a special class case, he's going to provide a place to sleep. Lucky him. He shows Leonard a small wooden cabin. It's basic, but it's got a door, which is a luxury on this island. Leonard is genuinely thankful. For everything else, Leonard has to be self-sufficient. As long as he has spirit stones, he can get whatever he needs. Bradley tells him to make it work. Bradley finishes his explanation and asks if the rookie has any questions. He's got a smirk like he's waiting for Leonard to ask for a map to the nearest exit. Leonard asks the difference between the protection period and the training period. He's always focused on the fine print. Bradley explains, during protection, he supports Leonard's activities entirely. During training, his only job is to make sure the other knights don't kill him. It's a subtle but dangerous shift. Leonard asks if there are rules against killing or injuring each other. Bradley says killing is forbidden, but everything else is apparently fair game. Good to know. One last thing. Leonard wants to know the value of the resources he was issued. He opens his bag, and Bradley's eyes almost pop out of his head. 3,000 spirit stones, and 100 elixirs for each attribute. Even for a top-tier ranker, this is an insane amount of loot. Leonard is basically walking around with a small bank vault. Bradley is stunned. He realized the captain really likes this kid. Even direct line royals don't get this much support. Leonard asks what spirit stones actually are. Bradley explains they're ores imbued with mana. You absorb them to enlarge your mana hole. Yes, that's the technical term. Don't laugh. Bradley estimates that with this much loot, a single core could hit stage 10 easily. Even as a pentacore, Leonard should hit stage 5. Leonard is confused. What's a stage? Bradley realizes he needs to explain the local leveling system. He points a finger at Leonard, ready to drop some lore. World building time. Martial artists are divided into 5 major realms and 10 minor realms. Every realm you cross makes you more superhuman. The first is the body refinement realm. You use mana to expand your mana hole. It's basically the foundation of everything. The second is the external power realm. This is where you start doing the cool stuff with swords and fire. The third is the transcendent realm. This is where your individuality manifests as a unique power. We see a visual of William and Burita. This is where they are. The fourth is the demigod realm. It's exactly what it sounds like. You're basically a walking nuke at this point. And the fifth, you transcend humanity and attain godhood. Leonard listens, probably thinking, been there, done that. This is the divine transformation realm. We see a knight slaying a dragon. It's the stuff of legends. Bradley notes that nobody except the first ancestor of the Cardenas family has ever reached that realm. He looks a bit depressed about it. He gets fired up, calling people blasphemous for mocking the Cardenas bloodline. He reminds Leonard that their ancestors saved everyone from being slaves to a wicked dragon. Talk about family pride. Bradley coughs, realizing he went on a rant. He tells Leonard to start the real training immediately. First up, mana cultivation. Leonard sits down cross-legged, surrounded by his mountain of spirit stones. It's time to grind. Bradley tells him to use the resources to forge his physical abilities. He's got a supportive smile, but he clearly thinks Leonard has a long road ahead. He leaves Leonard to it, wishing him luck. The door shuts, and Leonard is left in the quiet cabin. Leonard is left alone. Luck. Huh, he thinks. He doesn't need luck when he's got 2,000 years of muscle memory. He looks at the stones. Absorption is the name of the game. Most people struggle with this for years. He notes that the ambient mana here is abundant. Just walking around is training. He wonders if the act of absorption is actually what people find hard. He grips a stone. If that's the case, then I'm in luck. He's got a look of dawning realization. This is going to be way too easy. He smirks. He already did all of this in his past life. This isn't learning. It's just remembering. The sun goes down and the moon comes up. We see a time skip, but not the kind we expected. Leonard's arm is glowing, his veins bulging with power. He's absorbing energy so fast, the air around him is practically vibrating. He's already reached the third stage in just a few hours. At this rate, he'll hit stage 5 in a single day. He's basically cheating reality. He lies down on the floor, surrounded by empty stones. He reflects on how his 5 cores match the 5 elements from his past life. Absorption was just basic homework for him. He realizes that finishing in one day would be suspicious. He doesn't want to get kidnapped for scientific study, so he decides to hide for a few days. He thinks about Captain Fabian. The guy thinks Leonard is a once-in-a-generation genius. Leonard decides to play along with that narrative to get more loot. He gives a mischievous smile. He's going to master his past life techniques and act like he's just a really talented kid. 1 month later, 3 senior knights are standing outside Leonard's cabin. They look bored and unimpressed. They're mocking him for being holed up for over a month. They think he's scared to come out and face the reality of the island. One of them guesses Leonard is staying inside until he hits stage 5. He calls it the bare minimum to survive. They're acting like high school bullies. They decide to go fishing instead of worrying about some rookie. They've already written Leonard off as a failure. They joke about how their own skills are goblin level. One of them gets offended, which is hilarious. We're at least at orc level, right? He asks. Imagine bragging about being as strong as a generic fantasy mob. Either way, they consider themselves the weakest around here, which makes their bullying of Leonard even more pathetic. The door to the cabin finally opens. Leonard steps out, his feet hitting the grass. He looks refreshed, like he just had a long nap. He adjusts his tie. Time to get a real sword from Sir Bradley. He's done with the wooden sticks. It's time for some cold steel. Cut to Leonard standing before a massive mountain. Bradley is there, looking surprised that the kid finally came out of his hole. Bradley asks why he wants a real sword. Leonard says he needs to get accustomed to a real blade rather than a wooden one. It's a very reasonable request. Leonard admits he's only gotten a little stronger. He's being modest, which we all know is a massive lie. Suddenly, Leonard releases a burst of pressure. Rocks start flying into the air. Bradley is caught completely off guard. Oh! Bradley's face is a picture of total shock. He can sense the energy coming off this kid, and it's not a little. Leonard stands in the center of the storm, looking calm. He reached the third stage in just 1 month as a pentacore, or so Bradley thinks. In reality, he did it in a few hours. Bradley is impressed by the growth, but his aura suddenly flares up. He's going to test if Leonard is actually ready or just lucky. An apprentice shouldn't get ahead of himself, he shouts. He towers over Leonard like a dark shadow, testing the kid's resolve. He suddenly pulls out a real sword and hands it to Leonard. Don't be so scared, he says. He's satisfied with the reaction. He tells Leonard not to do anything reckless. He's starting to care about the kid, or maybe he just doesn't want to explain a dead rookie to the captain. Leonard thanks him. Bradley adds a condition. If Leonard loses the sword, he has to compensate with spirit stones. Leonard asks what happens if it breaks. Bradley holds up a spirit stone with a grin. He says that's what the stones are for. Repairs and replacements. It's a very straightforward business model. He wishes Leonard luck and walks away. He's done his part, now it's up to the rookie to survive. Leonard looks at the map, his new sword in hand. He's finally armed and ready to go. The moon is full again. Leonard is heading toward a spot on the map marked with a skull. Nothing good ever happens near a skull icon. He arrives at the Forest of Remnants. It's crawling with ghouls and goblins with glowing yellow eyes. Leonard doesn't look scared, he looks hungry for a fight. The real training starts now. Most people take a lifetime to reach the top, but our boy Leonard is trying to do it before his next growth spurt. He's out in the woods, looking for anything that might actually be a challenge. He runs into a hobgoblin, rank E2. It's basically a slightly more motivated version of a regular goblin, which is to say, it's still garbage. Leonard notes that no matter how cleanly you cut them, the stench of blood always lingers. He's walking through the fog like a horror movie villain, except he's the one we're rooting for. He kicks off the ground, moving with a level of precision that makes the forest floor look like a paved highway. He slices through a pack of goblins, like they're made of paper. He's putting them out of their misery, but mostly he's just bored of the easy XP. When these monsters die, they drop spirit stones. Leonard is collecting them like he's playing a mobile game, with a very high drop rate, about 100 low-grade stones in a single day. He crushes a stone in his hand, feeling the mana. It's not bad, but he realizes he's hit a ceiling in this Forest of Remnants. This place is just a habitat for the losers of the food chain. Everything here is E rank, which is basically the participation trophy of the monster world. Suddenly, his ears twitch. He senses something different, a scent that doesn't belong in the shallow end of the pool. He spots a knoll. This isn't a standard one. It has an aura that says it actually knows how to use that axe. Leonard grips his new sword, his hand steady. This is what he came out here for, a reason to actually use a real blade. The knoll isn't even trying to hide its presence. It sees Leonard as prey, which is its first and final mistake of the day. Leonard realizes he's being underestimated. Being a small human has its perks, mostly because it makes the monsters extra surprised when you cut their arms off. "Come at me, beast," Leonard says, his red eyes glowing with that "I've died once already" energy. The knoll lunges, its eyes crackling with energy. It looks like it's been drinking too much mana coffee this morning. Leonard watches the massive axe swing down. To a normal person, this is a death sentence. To him, it's just a very slow-moving piece of scrap metal. The impact craters the ground, but Leonard isn't there. He's already repositioned, moving like a ghost in a business suit. He prepares a counter, his posture perfect. He's not just fighting, he's performing a masterclass in how to not get hit by a giant dog man. "Stop barking, you damn mutt," he says, delivering a line that would be cooler if the knoll could actually understand English. The knoll lets out a frustrated howl. It's used to things dying when it hits them, and Leonard is being very uncooperative. Leonard notes the knoll's power. Just by changing the trajectory of its attack, the beast shows it has more than just brute strength. He decides to just dodge everything. It's a lot less effort than blocking, and it makes the monster look like an idiot, which is a nice bonus. He realizes this isn't a normal knoll. It's stronger and tougher, proving that the training manuals he was given are about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. We get a breakdown. Goblins are E1, hobgoblins are E2, standard gnolls are D1, but this thing is clearly several levels above that. Usually, monsters only evolve once, but some of them just don't know when to quit. This thing is an advanced gnoll, rank D3. It's the kind of creature that makes apprentice knights reconsider their career choices. Leonard gives a small, dangerous smile. "I guess I have to do this." He's actually enjoying himself for once. He decides this is going to be his first real training session in a while. The gnoll roars, realizing that its dinner is about to fight back. The monster unleashes a flurry of swings, creating a whirlwind of dust and debris. It's trying to overwhelm Leonard with sheer volume. Leonard thinks the attack is reckless. He steps back casually, watching the axe pass inches from his nose. He moves in, sliding under the gnoll's guard. It's like watching a professional dancer navigate a mosh pit. He lands a strike, but the gnoll's skin is tougher than expected. It's like trying to cut through a truck tire with a steak knife. The sparks fly. Even Leonard is a bit surprised by how hard the monster's hide is. The gnoll gets its axe stuck in the ground. Leonard sees his opening. If sword strikes don't work, he'll just have to find a spot that isn't reinforced. He spins around, using the gnoll's own momentum against it. He's done being polite. He notes that the beast has sturdy muscles and bones, but it can't protect every inch of its body. He aims for the throat. It's a classic weak point, mostly because things tend to stop living when their neck is open. The strike lands perfectly. The gnoll's eyes go wide, as it realizes it just got outplayed by a human who barely reaches its chest. The forest goes quiet as the massive beast falls. Leonard stands there, looking like he just finished a light jog. He's surprised to find a mid-grade spirit stone. This one stone is worth 100 of the low-grade ones he's been grinding. Talk about a jackpot. He realizes that with creatures like this around, his internal energy is going to grow faster than a rumors in a small town. He decides he's done with this part of the forest. He's got 2 swords, a bag full of loot, and a look of absolute boredom. Back at his cabin, Leonard is glowing with blue mana. He's been grinding off-screen, and it shows. He's sitting in a meditative pose, mana swirling around him like a mini hurricane. He realizes he's already reached the 10th stage of the body refining realm. He knew things were going smoothly, but this is basically speed running reality. The problem is, a pentacore reaching stage 10 in a few months is a total red flag. It's like a toddler winning a weightlifting competition. People are going to ask questions. Suddenly, he hears voices outside. It's the senior squad, and they're wondering if something happened to the weak rookie. It's been 3 months, and they haven't seen Leonard step outside. They're debating whether they should keep checking on him every day. The trio looks concerned, or maybe just bored. They're the good seniors, who are really just looking for someone to look down on. One of them gives a lecture about how connections are the strongest weapon in a family like Cardina's. They want to be the first ones to help the new guy, so he owes them later. They note that Leonard is the rank 1 rookie, and even the captain is watching him. They really want that friendship credit. They push Hayden toward the door, telling him to at least say hello. Hayden looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. Hayden peeks in through a crack, asking if Leonard is still alive, and telling him to eat. Leonard is just standing there behind the door, watching him like a ghost. Leonard realizes they're actually better seniors than he expected. They aren't just here to bully him, they're actually worried he's starving to death. He caught a glimpse of their faces through the crack. Now, he's got a plan to solve his being too famous problem. He decides that Leonard stands out too much. But a senior who's been on the island for 10 years? That guy is invisible. He decides to try a technique he hasn't used in a while, reverse application art. It's basically extreme facial reconstruction without the surgery. Flashback to his past life as the Sword Emperor. Back then, he was so strong he never had a reason to hide. Now, he has too many. His face shifts and cracks. It looks like a CGI effect from a big budget movie. The process is finished under the light of the full moon. Leonard's original face is gone, replaced by something much more generic. He looks at his hands, satisfied with the results. All right, no one should recognize me now. 3 months later, we're deep in the Bone Mountain swamp. It's foggy, damp, and smells like things that died a long time ago. Leonard is moving through the swamp, disguised as Hayden. He's learned the ironclad rule of survival here. Always erase your presence. Every creature in this place is poisonous, can camouflage, or both. It's basically nature's way of saying, please leave. If he lets his guard down for a second, he'll end up as a snack for the lizardmen lurking in the muck. Average lizardmen are rank C, which is a massive jump from the goblins. They travel in packs, so Leonard needs to be a one-hit kill machine. He drops down from a tree, landing on a lizardman's head before the thing even knows it's being hunted. He drives his sword through the monster's skull in a burst of energy. He's not here to duel, he's here to clean house. The lizardman goes down without a sound. Leonard is getting really good at this being a ninja thing. He stops, sensing something massive nearby. Did I make too much noise? He realized the boss of the swamp has finally woken up. A massive tail swings through the air, nearly taking Leonard's head off. These aren't your average swamp dwellers. A giant lizardman screeches at him. It's bigger, uglier, and looks like it's been waiting for a reason to kill someone. Leonard mocks it, saying its moves are too simple. He doesn't have time to play with a beast that doesn't understand the finer points of swordsmanship. He cuts through the giant, claiming another mid-grade spirit stone. His collection is getting impressive. He's gathered about 1,500 intermediate spirit stones. It's finally time for the big one, the breakthrough to the next stage. The process of transcending a major boundary is intense. It's like trying to pour a gallon of water into a shot glass without breaking it. Leonard is still using Hayden's face. He knows if he breaks through on Carabagos Island, the mana explosion will be impossible to hide. He looks around, his red eyes scanning the horizon. He needs a place where he can blow the roof off without anyone noticing. He's standing in a lush, green part of the island now. He's looking for the perfect, quiet spot for his magical explosion. He starts walking, his boots crunching on the rocky ground. He's getting a main character sense that something big is nearby. He needs a space that can contain the mana. At the very least, somewhere to keep the rain out while he's unconscious from the power-up. He spots something strange, a cultivated field in the middle of a monster-infested island. This is either a glitch in the world or a very dedicated gardener. He sees spirit herbs, tons of them. Their mana absorption rate is even higher than spirit stones. He realizes a troll is actually farming these things. Suddenly, a massive growl echoes. Something is coming. Leonard drops into a crouch, his instincts on high alert. A huge troll steps out, looking like it just realized someone is in its garden. It's got that get off my lawn energy. But wait, another monster appears. A lycanthrope lunges at the troll. It's a literal turf war in the middle of paradise. The lycanthrope is fast, crackling with blue lightning. It's a high-level predator that doesn't care about the troll's personal space. Leonard watches from the bushes. He's realized he's stumbled into a boss fight where he isn't even one of the participants. The monsters are calling down lightning and shaking the earth. Leonard is impressed. Monsters at this level can actually harness the power of nature. The troll manipulates tons of earth and stone, like they're Play-Doh. Even Leonard admits that at his current strength, he'd struggle against that. The lycanthrope is dodging at the speed of lightning. It's like watching an anime fight in real time, and Leonard has a front row seat. The lightning and earth collide in a massive explosion. These two are going to be busy for a while. They clash again, claw against fist. It's a stalemate of pure destruction. Leonard realizes this fight isn't ending anytime soon. He's got that look on his face, the one that says, I'm about to do something very irresponsible. This is my chance to explore the cave, he thinks. While the bosses are fighting outside, he's going to rob them blind. He figures if a troll of that level was guarding this place, the treasure inside must be legendary. He walks into the dark opening. As he enters, the noise from the fight outside fades. It's a perfect, soundproof sanctuary. He realizes this is the ideal spot for his breakthrough. He reaches the end of the cave and stops dead. There's a glowing, golden tree in the center of the cavern. It's the most beautiful thing he's seen in this life. Intermediate spirit herbs. He's stunned. Was the troll actually growing a whole forest of these in here? But something feels wrong. With this many herbs, he should have felt their mana from the outside, but the cave was completely silent. He reaches out his hand, sensing a barrier. He's investigating the air like he's looking for a hidden door. He finds it. A magical shield or honeycomb pattern is protecting the tree. This isn't just a cave, it's a high-security vault. He smirks. I see. He's figured out the trick. This shield was hiding the mana signature of the tree from the rest of the island. He touches the golden leaves. Everything about this place is bizarre. A golden tree in a hidden cave? That's some top-tier fantasy loot right there. He's heard of intermediate spirit herbs, but a whole tree is something out of a fairy tale. He realizes these aren't just intermediate. They might be advanced grade or even higher. He's about to start his breakthrough when he senses someone at the door. The troll is back. And it looks pissed. It's covered in blood, and its eyes are glowing with a murderous rage. Leonard realizes he didn't sense it because the cave blocks out mana and noise. The troll is between him and the only exit. Fortunately, the troll's battle wounds from the lycanthrope haven't healed yet. It's a wounded giant, which makes it only slightly less terrifying. The troll slams its fist down, causing a cave-in at the entrance. It's not even aiming for Leonard, it's just locking the door. The entrance is blocked. They're trapped together in a small space. It's the ultimate cage match. The cave is literally coming apart at the seams, as boulders crash down around our boy. The sound of shattering rock echoes through the swamp, signaling that this secret training spot is about to become a tomb. Leonard is forced onto the defensive, dodging massive chunks of the ceiling, while the troll looms in the background like a bad debt collector. The troll realizes it can't catch Leonard with speed, so it decides to start a game of extreme dodgeball with actual boulders. Leonard barely clears a rock the size of a small car, knowing that one direct hit would basically turn his skeleton into a jigsaw puzzle. He's actually impressed that a monster this ugly has a functioning brain, but he doesn't have time to write a Yelp review. He charges mana into his blade, the dark energy flickering like a warning sign that the fun part of the fight is starting. He locks onto the troll's back, planning to end this entire situation with one clean, professional strike. The troll lets out a confused grunt as the blade bites deep into its neck, leaking blue energy. But the troll has a trick up its sleeve. Or rather, under its skin, it's been using the dirt and rocks as armor this whole time. Suddenly, the air gets deathly hot as the troll ignites, proving that it's not just a rock thrower, it's a walking furnace. A massive pillar of fire erupts from the monster, turning the cave into a literal oven. The troll slams its flaming fist down, shattering the ground and sending a wave of heat that would melt anyone else's face off. Leonard realizes why that lightning wolf from earlier lost the fight. Turns out the troll was a dual-element specialist the whole time. The two stares each other down through the flames, the monster looking hungry, and Leonard looking mildly annoyed at the property damage. The troll starts stomping toward him, every step shaking the cave and making the fire burn even brighter. Leonard knows that getting close to that level of heat is a suicide mission. He'd be medium well in about 3 seconds. He decides to play the waiting game, looking for that one split second where the beast leaves its guard down. The troll takes a massive, heavy step forward, creating the exact opening Leonard was praying for. He launches himself through the falling debris, baiting the troll to commit to one final, clumsy move. The monster bites the bait and swings, but Leonard is already moving faster than its tiny eyes can follow. He delivers a flying knee to the beast's chin, which is a bold move, considering the thing's breath probably smells like a dumpster fire. The rush of the fight brings back a flood of memories from his past life as the Sword Emperor, and he's starting to feel like his old self again. He channels a massive surge of blue mana, aiming it straight at the troll's throat to finish the job. He twists in midair, landing a perfect strike that sends the monster crashing into the burning terrain. The impact creates a shockwave that blows back the flames, momentarily clearing the air of smoke and monster breath. Leonard doesn't let up, driving his energy deep into the beast's chest to make sure it stays down for good. He walks away from the carcass, thinking the fight is finally over, but he notices something glowing inside the wound. The troll's mana core is vibrating violently, leaking a dark, unstable energy that looks suspiciously like a self-destruct button. The crystal shatters, releasing months of stored elemental power in a single, catastrophic burst. A massive explosion rips through the cave, turning everything into a blinding wall of orange fire. The light is so intense it bleeds through the cracks in the bone mountain, signaling to the whole island that someone just messed up. The cave floor is a scorched wasteland, and the spirit herbs Leonard was hunting for are inches away from being charcoal. Our boy is caught right in the blast zone, struggling to keep his own mana stable while the world around him melts. The force of the explosion tosses him back like a ragdoll, sending him flying through the burning air. He slams into a tree, with enough force to shatter every bone in his body, and he's coughing up blood like he just finished a marathon through a blender. He's slumped against a golden tree, watching the cave burn down, and realizing that no one is coming to save him. With his body broken and the fire closing in, he realizes he only has one choice: heal himself by forcing a breakthrough, right here, right now. He grabs a handful of spirit stones, his hands shaking, as he prepares to absorb an amount of mana that would normally explode a human heart. He channels the power of 1,500 spirit stones into his magic circuits, his heart glowing with an intense blue light. It's a good start, but it's not enough to fix the damage, so he crawls toward the spirit herbs like his life depends on it. Because it does. He starts stuffing the herbs into his mouth, not caring about the taste or the side effects, just craving the raw power they hold. A massive vortex of blue energy swirls around him as his mana reserves finally hit the breaking point. His 5 mana cores start spinning in perfect harmony, a feat that should be impossible for someone at his level. All that chaotic energy begins to fuse into a single, blinding point of light, creating a brand new heart made of pure power. His wounds vanish instantly as he officially breaks through into a new realm, feeling stronger than he ever did in this new life. But the energy doesn't stop growing. It keeps surging outward, threatening to level whatever is left of the forest. A massive, dragon-like aura erupts from his body, proving that Leonard has officially surpassed the limits of what a human is supposed to be. Hashtag Chapter 14 script. Leonard sits beneath the glowing golden tree, realizing he didn't just fuse his cores, he jumped straight to the 3rd stage of the external force realm. Most of the seniors have been stuck at the 2nd stage for years, so Leonard basically just skipped the line like he owns the place. This kind of growth is the type of stuff that starts wars and makes entire families disappear out of jealousy. He looks at his hand, watching the blue mana dance over his skin, feeling healthier and more dangerous than ever. He's actually a bit shocked himself. Crossing just one major realm brought him more power than a decade of normal training. But then, he remembers the explosion and looks up at the massive, twisted tree, wondering how he's not currently a pile of ash. He notices a single, brilliant blue fruit hanging from a branch, glowing with a light that feels suspiciously protective. As he grabs the fruit, the light fades, leaving behind a prize that looks like it belongs in a god's personal garden. He realizes the tree released a massive shield of energy to protect itself, and he just happened to be in the non-flammable zone. The fruit hums in his hand, vibrating with enough mana to make his previous 1,500 spirit stones look like cheap batteries. He wonders if the tree absorbed the entire blast from the troll just to ripen this one piece of fruit, which is some high-tier farming. He decides to be a good neighbor and plants the seed back in the dirt, thanking the tree for basically being his unintended bodyguard. Leonard hightails it out of the cave, moving like a blur through the darkness to get back before anyone notices he's gone. If he's any later, the island guards are going to start asking questions he definitely doesn't want to answer. He bursts through a wall of rocks, the force of his exit leaving a crater behind him, because subtlety clearly isn't his strong suit today. He leaps through the forest canopy, feeling so light and fast that the trees might as well be standing still. He realizes he's actually too strong now, and for a second, he almost lost control of his own legs and launched into orbit. He spots his cabin in the distance, hoping the massive pillar of fire he left behind hasn't caused a total panic yet. He lands softly, carrying the lycanthrope's skin like a trophy, and manages to make it back with about 2 seconds to spare. He's worried the seniors will see him covered in monster blood and soot, which would be a bit hard to explain away as a brisk morning jog. Just as he's cleaning up, he hears the familiar sound of the seniors coming for their daily spar, and he has to switch back into weak junior mode. The seniors walk up, noticing his door is already open, and wondering why their favorite punching bag is up so early. Senior Ian jumps out, nearly having a heart attack, when Leonard appears behind him like a blonde ghost. Leonard keeps his face flat and introduces himself as the humble junior, hiding the fact that he could end them all with a flick of his wrist. One of the seniors, Gale, decides he's hit a wall in his training and asks Leonard to spar, which is like asking a shark for a swimming lesson. Leonard plays it cool, acting like he's doing Gale a huge favor by letting him teach him a few things. Ian joins in, acting all high and mighty, completely unaware that he's currently talking to a reincarnated war god. Gale smirks, telling Leonard to follow him so he can show him what a real knight of Cardenas looks like. The senior thinks he's taken the lead, but in the next second, his brain completely fails to process why his feet aren't on the ground anymore. Leonard accidentally sends Ian flying with a wooden sword, and the poor guy is left wondering why the sky is suddenly so close. Next up is Gale, who gets defeated so fast he probably didn't even see Leonard move his arm. The impact of Leonard's strike creates a massive cloud of dust, making a simple wooden spar look like a literal bomb went off. The seniors are struggling to keep up, their wooden swords looking like toothpicks compared to Leonard's basic movements. Gale is sweating bullets, wondering how a kid who just left training camp is moving like he's been fighting for 50 years. Leonard delivers a blow that shatters Gale's defense, making the senior look like he's trying to fight a hurricane with a kite. But then, Leonard messes up, he uses a tiny bit of mana, and his wooden sword starts glowing with an actual flame. The seniors freak out, screaming at him for using mana in a friendly spar, and Leonard realizes he just blew his weak kid cover. They rush over to check on him, and Leonard has to act like he's just as surprised by the fire as they are. He apologizes, claiming it was just a defensive technique that went a bit too far, while looking at his blackened hand. He smiles inwardly, realizing that pure swordsmanship isn't going to be enough to keep up with his new level of power. The seniors are actually impressed that he isn't angry about the accident, not knowing Leonard is just glad they're still alive. He tells them he's looking forward to more sessions, which is basically a threat they've mistaken for a compliment. He holds up his broken wooden sword with a grin that would be charming if it weren't so terrifyingly confident. The seniors agree to come back every night, thinking they've found a talented student, while Leonard is just happy for the live practice targets. Later, Ian shows up at his cabin, looking stressed, and tells Leonard they have to cancel their spar for today. Leonard notices Ian is geared up for actual war, wearing heavy armor and a massive backpack, which is a major change from their usual training gear. Ian tells him about a massive explosion at the Bone Mountain Swamp, and Leonard has to pretend he isn't the one who lit the fuse. Apparently, the story going around is that a lycanthrope and a troll had a territory dispute that ended in a demon realm level disaster. Ian describes how the troll was burned to a crisp, and the wolf was skinned alive, making it sound like a horror movie. With the two boss monsters gone, all the lesser mobs are going crazy, and the whole Night Order has to go out and clean up the mess. Ian tells Leonard to stay put and rest, because he's not ready for real combat, which is the funniest thing Leonard has heard all year. But before he leaves, Ian softens up and says he brought something for the junior to help him out. He drops 5 decent steel swords on the ground, knowing Leonard has a habit of breaking his wooden ones like they're made of crackers. Leonard is actually touched by the gesture, and Ian tells him not to forget about his favorite senior when he becomes a big shot. Ian warns him one last time not to go outside, because the entire Night Order is currently swarming the swamp area. He walks away, giving a final piece of advice that swordsmanship won't save him from everything. A tip that Leonard is definitely going to ignore. Leonard watches him leave, realizing that his little training session just mobilized every soldier on the island. But then he realizes this is the perfect chance to move freely, while all the guards are distracted by his previous fireworks show. He decides that using the Hayden face is too risky now, so he needs a new look to explore the island's secrets. He finds the wolf skin and realizes he can just wear that. It's disgusting, but it's better than being recognized by a passing patrol. He heads out toward the mountains, knowing that a chance like this won't come around again anytime soon. He reaches the edge of the training grounds, looking out over the horizon with a cold, focused expression. He stares at a dark, swirling mass of energy in the distance, the Owl Plains, and decides it's the perfect place to test his new dragon-level power. The Owl Plains are eerily quiet, which usually means something is about to try and eat you. Leonard feels a sharp killing intent cutting through the fog, but the thing watching him seems to be having a crisis of confidence. He decides that waiting for an invitation is a waste of time and lets his mana flare out like a signal flare. An owlbear drops from the sky, looking like a failed science experiment that decided to take up professional wrestling. Leonard pulls his hood back, eyes locked on his first test subject of the day. He smirks, realizing this monster is the perfect level of annoying to help him calibrate his new Stage 3 power. Meanwhile, on the coast of Carabagos Island, the sun is setting on a very different kind of problem. A fleet of small boats lands on the shore, dumping out a small army of people who clearly didn't come here for the sightseeing. The leader looks over his crew, noting 2 of them drowned on the way over. A tragic start to a plan that was already looking pretty shaky. This charming gentleman is the 5th shadow of Kurzus, and he looks like he hasn't had a good night's sleep in 3 centuries. He rallies his men, telling them their comrades didn't die for nothing, and that it's all for the glory of their homeland. Their mission is simple: kidnap the apprentice knights and find out why the Cardina's bloodline is so tainted and powerful. He orders them to show no mercy, even to the kids, because in his head, these trainees are the root of all evil. The wind howls across the plains as the invaders begin their silent spread into the island's interior. One of the assassins, the 30th Shadow, is sprinting through the dirt, already annoyed that he lost track of his squad. He's complaining about how many A-rank monsters are on this island, wondering what the demons of Cardenas have been doing here. He figures that as he gets deeper into the plains, the monsters will get weaker, which is the kind of logic that usually gets people killed in these stories. He spots an owlbear ahead and prepares to engage, thinking it'll be a decent warm-up. He lunges forward with his blade, ready to score a quick kill and move on with his day. But he stops dead when he realizes the owlbear is already a corpse, and a very fresh one at that. The assassin realizes he isn't alone, and whoever did this didn't even break a sweat. He looks around and sees a pile of dead monsters, each one taken out with a single professional strike. A rock whistles through the air, and the assassin barely blocks it, his blade vibrating from the sheer force of a pebble. Leonard steps out of the shadows, asking the guy who the hell he is, with the tone of a person who's had his lunch interrupted. The assassin is stunned, wondering how a kid found him first and managed to get the drop on him. Leonard notices the guy isn't much of a talker, so he decides to beat the information out of him instead. The assassin realizes that the kid standing in front of him has the voice of someone he's heard of before. He's panicking now, his internal monologue doing more work than his actual fighting skills. The assassin lunges with a flaming blade, desperate to end the fight before Leonard can do anything fancy. Leonard just watches the blade go by, noting that the guy is definitely trying to kill him, which is a big mistake. He blocks the strike with 0 effort, leaving the assassin wondering if he's fighting a human or a brick wall. Leonard steps in close, his footwork so perfect it makes the assassin's movements look like a toddler's first steps. The assassin tries to create distance, but Leonard is already on him like a bad habit. They clash again, Leonard's mana overwhelming the assassin's secret arts with raw, unrefined power. The guy realizes his armor just blocked a hit that should have cut him in half, thanks to a magic artifact he's hiding. Leonard isn't impressed, and prepares to show him what actual swordplay looks like. The assassin activates a snake aura, his blade turning into a glowing, venomous serpent to try and catch Leonard off guard. Leonard calls it crude, reading the entire secret art like it's a children's book with big pictures. He mocks the guy, guessing that he's only ever fought weaklings who were too scared to hit back. The assassin panics and uses a soul-binding chain, hoping to trap Leonard and his sword in a purple mana cage. The plan worked perfectly. Assuming the plan was to watch Leonard Leonard throw his sword away and decide to use his fists instead. Leonard charges in, his hand glowing with a pinkish mana that looks like a very aggressive sunset. He asks if the guy really thought stealing a sword would stop a man who is a weapon. The assassin can't believe the level of decisiveness this kid has, especially since Leonard is currently punching through his life's work. A single punch to the face sends the assassin's teeth on a vacation and leaves him wondering if the sky has always been that color. The moon hangs high over the plains, a silent witness to the absolute beating that just took place. Leonard stands over the tied-up assassin, casually mentioning that the guy's life is now entirely in his hands. The assassin calls him a coward, which is a bold choice for a man currently bound in rope, like a Christmas ham. He screams about the filthy Cardina's demons, and how Leonard mocked his pride as a knight. Leonard looks genuinely confused, which is the most insulting reaction he could have possibly given. He points to the broken magic artifacts on the ground, reminding the guy that he was the one cheating with enchanted gear. The assassin keeps shouting, claiming there's nothing cowardly about using tricks against a monster from Cardenas. He vows to expose the twisted power Leonard is using, even as he trembles at the sight of a closing fist. He begs for death, trying to act like a martyr for a cause that Leonard doesn't even understand yet. Leonard tells him that living or dying isn't up to him anymore, and he doesn't even have the right to ask for a quick end. The guy spits out one last insult, calling Leonard a bastard child of impure blood. That gets Leonard's attention, the phrase impure blood ringing a bell that he definitely needs to investigate. The assassin claims that the sin in Leonard's veins is undeniable, which is pretty dramatic for a guy who just got beat up by a teenager. He rants about how Leonard isn't human, and that no normal bloodline could keep producing monsters with special abilities. Leonard leans in with a cold smile, realizing this guy knows way more about his family's history than he does. Hashtag chapter 16 script. The assassin keeps shouting at the moon, demanding to know why the Cardenas family hides their branch members if their blood is so pure. Leonard just listens, looking bored enough to start counting the stars, while his prisoner has a mental breakdown. He asks if the assassin is just jealous of the family's power, enough to toss away his honor and start kidnapping kids. He tells the third-rate nobody that even exposing a secret won't change the fact that he has no power and no honor left. The assassin screams at him not to get cocky, claiming Leonard is insulting the prestigious name of Curzis. Leonard thanks him for the info, acting like the guy just voluntarily filled out a survey instead of accidentally revealing his kingdom's name. He notes that when a person's mind is a mess, they forget to keep their mouth shut about the most obvious things. The assassin realizes he's released his own mana circuits in a suicide move, but Leonard tells him he's going to talk before he dies. The Curzis kingdom used to be the holy land of knights back in the day, full of history and shiny armor. But that all ended when Cardenas showed up and turned their kingdom into a historical footnote in a single afternoon. Leonard realizes these guys are attacking just to get their pride back, and in a weird way, their interests actually align. The real problem is that a transcendent realm powerhouse has already landed on the island, which is way above most people's pay grade. He decides the best move is to alert Sir Bradley without showing his own face and getting dragged into a formal investigation. He charges his sword with a massive amount of blue energy, preparing to leave a calling card that no one can ignore. He needs everyone to know that the Shadow Knights are here, and they aren't here for a friendly chat. He looks at the captured assassin, knowing the trainees are in way over their heads against these pros. Leonard delivers a final blow, deciding to leave a trace that suggests a Swordmaster-level fighter is on the island helping them. The aftermath looks like a localized earthquake hit the area, which should be enough to get the guard's attention. He loots the magic artifacts, because being a hero is great, but free loot is better. He picks up the unconscious assassin, carrying him like a sack of potatoes, to a place where he'll be easily found. He walks off into the night, leaving his gift behind, and disappearing back into the forest. Later that night, the trainee camp is peaceful and quiet, which is always the setup for something going horribly wrong. Senior Ian and his crew are finally heading back for some rest, complaining about the sudden summons from earlier. One of them just wants to sleep and hopes nothing else happens, which is the fastest way to trigger a plot event. Ian stops, noticing something leaning against a tree that definitely wasn't there this morning. They realize it's a corpse, or at least a very mangled person, and they sprint to call Sir Bradley. Bradley arrives and takes one look at the body, his face going pale as he recognizes the marks of a high-level battle. He identifies the Aura Blade technique, a skill only used by actual swordmasters in real combat. He finds a note left behind, a confession written by the assassin, claiming he felt guilty for attacking the kids. The note reveals the Curzis invasion and the fact that a group of skilled fighters is heading for the trainees' quarters. Bradley grits his teeth, realizing the problem isn't the foot soldiers, it's their leader, who can warp reality with his sword. He orders Ian to sound the emergency alarm, declaring a state of total crisis across the entire island. The sirens blare through the night, waking up every trainee and making the air feel heavy with tension. The apprentice knights scramble out of their tents, confused and terrified, as they realize this isn't a drill. Leonard blends into the crowd, watching Bradley summon everyone to the main square. Bradley stands before the assembled knights, telling them the hard truth. Intruders are on the island, and they are pros. He warns them that the enemy consists of 30 elites and one swordmaster, who is basically a walking natural disaster. He tells them to imagine Captain Fabian's power, and then realize that sheer numbers mean nothing against a man like that. He gives them a choice: activate the spatial gate capitulate and abandon the island to save their own skins, or stay and face an enemy that outclasses them in every possible way. Leonard watches them, thinking that real combat would be a great experience, assuming they don't all die in the first 5 minutes. To his surprise, one of the trainees shouts out that they will fight, their voice shaking but determined. Ian and the others draw their swords, claiming they've gotten stronger and they want to show what they can do. Leonard is actually impressed, realizing he might have misjudged these weaklings and their sense of duty. A forest of swords rises into the air as the trainees roar their defiance, ready to defend their training ground. Sir Bradley lets out a small, proud smile, clearly moved by the fact that his students aren't total cowards. He respects their decision, but tells them they still need reinforcements from Captain Fabian to deal with the big boss. He tells everyone to steel their resolve as the sun begins to rise on the most dangerous day of their lives. The trainees are moved to earth shelters near their beds, which is a fancy name for holes in the ground where they can hide. Leonard is evacuated with the weak ones, which works out perfectly because it gives him time to check his stolen loot. Most of the gear is junk, but he finds an enchanted ring that looks like it might actually be useful. He activates the haste enchantment, expecting to move like a lightning bolt. The ring glows for a second and then immediately shatters, unable to handle the sheer intensity of Leonard's internal mana. He realizes his heart just rejected the external mana like a body rejecting a bad organ transplant. The only thing he can actually use is the Shadow Knight's signal flare, which he already forced the prisoner to explain. He hangs the flare around his neck, planning to use it as a decoy if things get messy later on. He sprints out of the shelter, eyes glowing with a cold light, as he prepares to hunt the only man on the island who might actually be a challenge. Our guy is moving through the valley so fast, the air itself is struggling to keep up with him. He senses a reinforcement signal nearby, but he knows it's not the swordmaster yet, just more targets for his sword. He decides to seize control of the situation, while the invaders are still confused about why their friends keep disappearing. He arrives at Lion's Valley, just in time to see a massive purple explosion turn the local scenery into a charcoal painting. A manticore is currently busy turning the Kurzus assassins into snacks, and honestly, the monster is doing a better job than the island's security. The beast lets out a roar that sounds like a choir of demons hitting a high note, sending the intruders flying in every direction. The Kurzus captain screams for his men to run, realizing that their grand mission is currently being interrupted by a very hungry cat. They're hoping for a comrade to show up and save them, which is a pretty optimistic thought for guys who came here to kidnap children. One of the assassins sees a figure in the distance and asks if it's his comrade, right before a blue blade makes the question irrelevant. Leonard zips through the line of assassins like a lightning bolt through a wet paper bag, leaving nothing but static and regret behind. 3 guys are down before they can even finish their prayers, and the survivors are wondering how a kid learned to move like a glitch in the Matrix. Leonard looks back with total indifference, noting that these guys talk way too much once you give them a little push. The last standing assassin calls him a coward, which is a pretty bold claim coming from a guy currently surrounded by his own mistakes. Leonard tells him that letting emotions get in the way is the fastest way to get a front row seat to your own funeral. The assassin charges in for fallen comrades, but he ends up joining them in about half a second. Imish C-Sen7_015_part 2. Leonard doesn't even need to finish the job. The manticore decides it's time for dessert. The guy realizes too late that while he was busy yelling at Leonard, he completely forgot about the 500-pound monster behind him. Leonard stares at the beast, which has a human face, because apparently this island needed to be even more nightmare-inducing. The manticore looms over him, its multiple tails twitching like it's trying to decide which part of Leonard to eat first. The monster releases a wave of purple energy, proving that it didn't just get its looks from a horror movie, but its power too. Leonard checks the monster's stats in his head. Lion body, snake tail, troll face. It's basically an A-rank blender on legs. He's surprised it actually has a human face, but he's mostly just wondering why it hasn't tried to bite him yet. The manticore actually speaks, calling him human, in a voice that sounds like grinding gravel. Leonard is genuinely shocked that the monster is verbal, mostly because he wasn't expecting a debate before the boss fight. The beast tells him flat out that if they fight, the monster is the one who's going to end up dead. It can sense Leonard's insane power, but it warns him that if he stays here too long, he will come. He refers to the 5th shadow, a man the manticore describes as incomparably strong. Leonard realizes this one person is more dangerous than everyone else on the island combined. We're talking about a literal swordmaster, the kind of guy who treats reality as a suggestion and obstacles as optional. Leonard knows he stands no chance against a guy like that at his current level, but he's not sure he can trust a monster's word. The manticore dares him to come closer if he's not afraid to die, its eyes glowing with a predatory hunger. Leonard decides he's done playing games and tells the beast he'll let it go this time, which is a very generous offer from a teenager. He starts to walk away, his boots crunching on the cracked earth as he focuses on the bigger threat. The manticore calls him a fool and lunges anyway, because apparently even talking monsters have a hard time resisting a snack. Leonard expected this, his eyes narrowing as he prepares to show the cat why its first instinct was right. He lunges for the head first, his mana flaring up like a blue supernova. The strike is a blur of energy that slices through the beast's defense, like it's not even there. The monster realizes it messed up big time, its roar turning into a whine as Leonard's power overwhelms it. The tails lash out in a desperate attempt to take Leonard with it, but he's already in the air. He delivers a dual-blade cross-slash that would make a master chef jealous of the precision. The final hit goes straight for the heart, and Leonard finishes the job before the beast can even realize it's dying. Suddenly, Leonard senses a massive pressure approaching. It's the swordmaster, and he's moving fast. He tosses a magic necklace onto the ground, using it as a lure to lead the intruders exactly where he wants them. He zips away just as a green aura begins to flood the valley, signifying the arrival of the actual boss. The fifth shadow slams into the ground, creating a crater just by existing, and looks around for whoever killed his men. The old guy picks up the necklace Leonard left behind, looking incredibly frustrated that he missed his target. His eyes glow with a green light as he scans the area, his intuition telling him that someone very talented is playing with him. He shouts out, demanding to know who's hiding, his voice shaking the trees and probably a few nearby mountains. He releases a massive wave of green flame, burning everything in a desperate attempt to flush Leonard out. Leonard is impressed the guy can sense him from that far away, but he knows staying here is a one-way ticket to a pine box. He uses a digging art to dive into the earth, which is honestly the most practical use of magic we've seen so far. The fifth shadow lands right where Leonard was standing, his boot sinking into the scorched dirt. The old man wonders if he was just imagining things, his pride taking a hit because he can't find a single kid in an open field. He walks through the field of swords he's created, telling his dead subordinates to sleep in peace. He tells himself the objective is already achieved anyway, which is the universal villain phrase for, I'm losing control of the situation. Leonard's hand bursts through the dirt in another part of the forest, looking like he's practicing for his own resurrection. He pulls himself out, coughing up dust, but otherwise fine, and scans the area for the remaining knights. He finds a Cardenas knight slumped against a tree, bleeding out from wounds that look very professional. The knight looks up, shocked to see an apprentice wandering around this slaughterhouse. The dying man tells him that a single swordmaster took out 43 intermediate knights in seconds, which is a pretty efficient way to ruin a Saturday. He reveals that 8 apprentices were taken away in shackles, including Leonard's favorite practice targets. Hashtag Chapter 18 Script. Leonard stands in the middle of a literal graveyard, realizing his friends have already been hauled off like groceries. He's wondering how an army managed to sneak past everyone while dragging a dozen screaming teenagers along. He knows their goal is to secure test subjects, so they'll need to keep them alive and healthy for whatever weird experiments they have planned. He stares at a captured assassin, his eyes glowing with a promise of violence if he doesn't get the answers he wants. He figures out they must be using mass teleport, a high-tier spell that moves a lot of people to one spot very quickly. He knows he has to hurry, because once they hit that teleport button, his friends are gone forever. He spots Sir Bradley in the distance, who is currently conducting a thorough search of the completely wrong area. Leonard realizes Bradley is incompetent, so he decides to put the man to sleep for a bit, using a quick mana strike. He looks down at the overseer, thinking that House Cardenas is headed for a crushing defeat if this guy is their best hope. He knows advice from a mere cadet won't persuade anyone, so he decides to lead Bradley to the enemy himself, by force. He leaves a trail of cuirass gear and blood, essentially laying out a breadcrumb trail for the slow-witted guards. Bradley wakes up and rallies his remaining troops, charging through the forest with all the grace of a confused rhino. He's calling everyone cowards for running, completely unaware that he's being led on a leash by his own student. Leonard appears in the trees, masked and dangerous, baiting Bradley to give chase. Bradley sees the intruder and takes the bait, ordering his men to eliminate the guy who just humiliated him. The overseer thinks he's chasing a Kurzus remnant, his anger blinding him to the fact that Leonard is moving way too perfectly. Leonard leads them through a series of aerial maneuvers, making Bradley's men look like they're trying to catch a fly with a sledgehammer. He's thinking, "Follow me," as he leaps toward the sunset. The coast finally coming into view. The guards are screaming not to let him get away, but Leonard is already 10 steps ahead in a game they don't even know they're playing. He spins through the air, dodging a volley of wooden swords and mana blasts, with a smirk hidden behind his mask. He's moving so fast, he's basically just a blur of gray and blonde, keeping just enough distance to keep Bradley hooked. Bradley shouts that he's fast for a Kurzus dog, right before he realizes he's been led straight to the enemy's main camp. Leonard notes the success of his lure as he watches Bradley prepare to engage the real threats. Bradley stops at the coastline, shocked to see a massive magic circle being prepped for extraction. Leonard watches from the shadows, hoping Bradley doesn't die instantly, because the real enemy is about to walk onto the stage. The fifth shadow steps forward, mocking Bradley for being in such a hurry to die. Bradley asks if he's the mastermind behind this chaos, and the old guy just calls it a small first step toward their great work. Bradley draws his sword, demanding a surrender, while the fifth shadow just looks bored by the whole speech. The villain laughs, asking if Bradley really thinks they landed on this island without a plan. He claims Bradley has already been defeated, his green aura flaring up and eclipsing the entire beach. Bradley realizes the mass teleport circle is almost active, and he's starting to sweat. The fifth shadow smiles, telling him he has 15 minutes to struggle before they leave with the prizes. The two engage in a high-speed clash, green flames and white steel creating a light show on the sand. Leonard watches from a tree, telling Bradley to hold out just a bit longer while he goes to rescue the kids. He looks at the camp, noting the magic circle is humming with a frequency that means it's nearly fully charged. Leonard slips into the main tent, his presence masked so perfectly the guards don't even twitch as he walks past. He sees Ian and the others tied up, looking like they've accepted their fate as experimental subjects. Leonard approaches them from behind, moving like a ghost in the flickering flickering lamplight. The shackles are glowing with a purple mana, designed to drain the strength of anyone wearing them. Leonard uses a concentrated burst of blue mana to shatter the chains like they're made of glass. Ian is stunned, realizing his shackles are gone, and wondering who the hell this masked guy is. Leonard tells them to escape immediately, refusing to explain, because he's got a very important appointment with a swordmaster. Ian and the others look at him with a mix of awe and confusion, their pride as knights finally starting to kick back in. They offer their deepest gratitude, and Leonard just nods, his mind already on the slaughter he's about to commit. He bursts out of the tent, creating a shockwave that lets the guards know the party is officially over. He stands in the middle of the camp, declaring that the hostage problem is officially resolved. He smiles behind his mask, ready to take care of the remaining business with the Kurzi's trash. He launches into a frenzy, blue mana trails, following his every move as he clears the camp of foot soldiers. He's moving so fast, the guards are literally falling over themselves, dying before they can even draw their weapons. Leonard's eyes are glowing with a terrifying intensity, his bloodlust finally being let off the leash. Back on the beach, Bradley's sword is snapped in half by a massive green strike. Bradley is sent flying, blood spraying, as the fifth shadow prepares for the final blow. The villain stands over him, calling the whole thing a decent opening act, but a pathetic game. He claims Kurzis will soon stand at the peak of the sword world again, right before he senses something falling from the sky. He looks up, feeling a presence that's been obstructing their great work this whole time. Leonard drops in like a meteor, his blade aimed straight for the fifth shadow's head. The impact craters the beach, forcing the swordmaster back for the first time since the fight started. The villain looks at Leonard, calling it disappointing that the person who killed his men is just a brat. He ignites his green blade, vowing to eliminate Leonard to appease the souls of his fallen comrades. The battlefield is a total disaster, and Leonard is standing right in the middle of it, while a massive blue magic circle pulses in the sky. It looks like the Kurzis invaders are finally running out of minions to throw at our guy. The fifth shadow is looking down at his fallen comrades with an expression that says his Christmas bonus was just cancelled. He's furious that a brat managed to wipe out his entire elite squad. The old man completely loses it and dives at Leonard, glowing with a toxic green aura. He screams about tearing Leonard limb from limb, which is a pretty standard villain monologue, but he seems to mean it. Leonard isn't exactly relaxed, though. He notes that this guy is a legitimate sword master, a level of power way beyond anyone he's fought in this new life. The shadow strikes with everything he's got, screaming for Leonard to die. The impact is massive, kicking up a whirlwind of dark energy and dust around our boy. But instead of a dead kid, the shadow finds himself staring at a blade, coated in blue light. He's stunned that a trainee knight can manifest an aura blade, but Leonard just tells him he doesn't need to know the details. Leonard isn't just defending, he's pushing back, though he realizes his current body can only hold this level of power for about 3 minutes. It's basically a sprint to the finish line before his mana tank hits empty. The shadow isn't giving up, launching a flurry of green energy slashes. He's acting like if he swings hard enough, the plot armor will eventually crack. Our boy is dodging and weaving through the chaos like it's a rhythm game. He notices the shadow is losing his composure, which usually means the villain is about to do something stupid. Leonard sees an opening and decides to close the distance for a counterattack. He thinks he's won, but the shadow suddenly gets a very creepy, very confident smirk on his face. Suddenly, Leonard feels a sharp sting and notices a drop of blood on his cheek. The shadow's eyes are glowing with pure malice as he reveals his trap. The villain starts bragging about his severance venom. Apparently, even a tiny scratch is enough to kill most people, which makes you wonder why he didn't lead with that. The poison is supposed to reach the heart instantly and shut down the victim's mana pulse. It's represented by a giant spectral snake, which is how you know it's extra evil. Leonard just stares at him for a second and thanks him for the explanation before lunging forward. The shadow's face goes from, "I'm a genius," to, "Wait, that's not in the script real fast." The spectral poison snake tries to swallow Leonard's mana, but it's like trying to drink boiling lava. The blue energy from Leonard's cores is just too much for the venom to handle. The shadow is having a full-blown meltdown now. He can't understand why the poison that kills heroes isn't even making this kid cough. Leonard casually wonders if his heart is resistant to poison along with magic. He reminds the shadow that he already told him some things are just on a need-to-know basis. The villain is backed into a corner, sweating and panting. He's realizing that overwhelming power might not be enough against someone who's already lived through an entire lifetime of war. The shadow's eyes go wide and bloodshot. He's officially reached the, "if I'm going down, I'm taking everyone with me" stage of the boss fight. He summons massive, thick green vines, or snakes of energy, that erupt from the ground, trapping himself and Leonard in a cage of mana. The energy is exploding everywhere as the shadow screams in agony and rage. Leonard is forced to keep his distance while the ground literally disappears under him. Leonard watches the display with a dry look, wondering if the guy has actually gone berserk, or if he's just hoping that hitting everything at once will eventually hit the target. The green energy coils around like a hurricane. Leonard realizes that if he can't get close, he'll have to find another way to end this before his 3-minute timer runs out. He decides the best defense is a very aggressive offense. He centers his gravity and prepares to pierce straight through the storm. Leonard becomes a blur of blue light, spiraling through the green chaos. It's a high-stakes gamble that looks like a literal whirlpool of clashing mana. He lands a solid strike, sending the shadow reeling. The villain is coughing up blood and calling Leonard a damned brat, which is his favorite way to say I'm losing. The shadow is bleeding from his eye now, looking like a total mess. He declares that he'll take Leonard with him, even if it costs his life, which is a classic loser's bet. He launches his final, desperate attack, sending massive shards of dark energy raining down. It's a literal carpet bombing of the beach. Leonard realizes the guy is pushing his mana output way past the safety limit. It's a suicide move, and Leonard knows he has to finish this right now. He plants his foot firmly in the sand. This is it. The final exchange, where someone usually loses a limb or their life. The shadow's green energy snakes lunge at Leonard from every direction. It's a claustrophobic mess of fangs and toxic mana. But Leonard sees through it instantly. He realizes the snakes are just a feint to hide the real strike, so he stays calm and prepares to cut through the noise. He focuses every ounce of his remaining aura into his blade. He's going for a single, perfect strike that ignores the defenses and goes straight for the throat. The two clash in a flash of light. Leonard's expression is cold as ice, while the shadow is putting every bit of his dying desperation into one last lunge. Leonard gets close enough to see the whites of the guy's eyes. He thinks he's got him, but something feels off. Suddenly, a magic circle appears on the shadow's chest with the words, "Shock Bound." It's an automated defense spell that triggers upon impact. A massive explosion of fire and force blasts Leonard backward. He's stunned that the shadow had a hidden magic tool specifically for this scenario. The shadow lunges through the smoke and grabs Leonard by the throat. He's covered in blood and smiling like a maniac because Leonard finally let his guard down. He tells Leonard that he wasn't firing his mana blindly. He was just baiting him to come within reach. At this distance, he's certain he can end our boy for good. The shadow tells Leonard he'll see him in hell, but a mysterious voice calmly interrupts, saying that definitely won't be happening. We see a close-up of a well-groomed beard and a very familiar red cloak. Looks like the cavalry finally decided to show up. In the blink of an eye, the shadow's arm is severed from his body. Captain Fabian is standing there, looking completely unimpressed by the villain's grand finale. Fabian is literally floating in the air, his red cape billowing in the wind. The shadow is staring at his missing limb like he's trying to remember where he left it. The villain screams, asking who this new guy is and when he got there. He's clearly not used to being the one who gets blindsided. Fabian lands and delivers a flurry of strikes that turn the shadow into a human pincushion. He casually mentions that those hits were for the subordinates the shadow killed earlier. Leonard smirks at the shadow, pointing out that he was so obsessed with killing a kid that he didn't even notice a literal swordmaster commander walking up behind him. Fabian walks over to Leonard and apologizes for being late. It's a very casual greeting for a guy who just saved Leonard from being blown into atoms. He praises Leonard for how much he's grown and thanks him for saving Sir Bradley. He also adds that he has a lot of questions, which is understandable since Leonard was supposed to be a trash trainee. Leonard just gives him a tired smile. He's been fighting for his life for hours and asks if they can maybe do the interrogation after he gets some sleep. Fabian softens up and tells him to rest well. It's a rare moment of peace in the middle of a war zone. But then, Fabian's eyes sharpen again. He remembers he still has some trash left to take out of the building. The shadow is still alive, somehow. He's using green energy to hold his severed limbs together and dragging himself up like a very angry zombie. The villain mutters that it isn't over yet, standing defiantly against Fabian. You have to admire the guy's commitment to losing. Fabian is disgusted by the shadow's inhuman obsession. He glows with a terrifying black and red aura, preparing to end the shadow's misery once and for all. But as Fabian lunges, the shadow suddenly throws a small object at Leonard. It's not a bomb, it's a magic scroll. Fabian realizes too late what's happening. The shadow's goal wasn't to kill them both. It was to use his last bit of energy to activate a specific spell. The shadow laughs like a lunatic as a massive blue portal opens under Leonard. He yells that he's taking Leonard with him, or at least sending him somewhere he'll never return from. Leonard's eyes go wide as the world around him starts to dissolve into light. He's been caught in a spatial teleportation spell, and there's absolutely nothing he can do to stop it. A massive pillar of light shoots into the sky, swallowing both Leonard and the shadow. Back on the beach, Fabian and Sir Bradley are staring at the spot where Leonard vanished. Fabian curses, realizing the invaders used a despicable mass teleport method to snatch the boy. They figure out that since the activation was incomplete and rushed, Leonard could have ended up literally anywhere in the world. This is basically the worst case scenario for a rescue mission. Fabian looks genuinely pained. He realized he grew careless, thinking he was the only target target and forgetting that Leonard is the real prize for anyone with a brain. Bradley is sweating bullets. He realizes the Shadow was willing to throw away his own life and pride just to take Leonard down, which shows how much of a threat our boy has become. Bradley admits he's never seen a trainee grow this fast. He's starting to realize that Leonard isn't just a talented kid, he's a walking anomaly. We get a flashback of Leonard brawling with the Shadow. Even for a seasoned knight, seeing an apprentice face a swordmaster is something out of a fairy tale. Bradley tells Fabian that, in all his years with the young Dragon Knights, he's never seen growth this terrifyingly rapid. He's basically admitting he's a fanboy now. He predicts that they're about to see a new legend being written in the history of House Cardenas. It's a very dramatic way of saying, I hope the kid didn't land in a volcano. Fabian doesn't have time for poetry though. He orders reinforcements from the main house immediately, declaring that they must find Leonard no matter what. We get a close-up of Fabian's face. He looks ready to burn down an entire kingdom just to get Leonard back. Meanwhile, Leonard is currently a piece of human driftwood, floating in the middle of a vast, sparkling blue ocean. At least he's not in a volcano, so that's a win. He's drifting on some wooden wreckage, barely conscious. He hears a voice and looks up, probably wondering if he's finally died and gone to a very wet version of the afterlife. Way above him, two figures are standing on the deck of a massive, high-tech looking ship. They're looking down at the strange blonde boy floating among the barrels. Leonard looks up at the towering hull of the ship. It's huge, sleek, and definitely doesn't look like any boat he saw back at the island. Fast forward a bit, and Leonard is waking up in a real bed. He's got a bandage on his cheek and looks about 10 times more comfortable than he was 5 minutes ago. He feels the ship rocking and smells the salt of the sea. He realizes he's been rescued, though he has no idea who these people are or where they're taking him. A girl with long ginger hair and a bright smile walks in, asking if he's finally awake. She looks very relieved for someone who just picked up a random stray from the ocean. But behind her, a girl with a ponytail looks much less friendly. She tells Leonard he better answer their questions properly, since they're the ones who saved his life. The ginger girl introduces herself as Frances, the captain of the Aquamarine. She extends her hand with a friendly grin, asking for his name. Leonard keeps it simple. He tells her his name is Leonard, and he's from the Arcadia Empire. He's being polite, but his internal Sword Emperor mode is definitely still active. They shake hands. It's a classic meeting the female lead moment, though Leonard is probably more concerned about whether they have any food on this boat. Frances freaks out when she hears he's from Arcadia. Apparently, he's a long way from home, like across the entire ocean, kind of long way. Leonard tells her it was an accident, which is the understatement of the century for being teleported by a dying suicide bomber. He mentions being caught in spatial magic, and we see a brief image of the Shadow's creepy face. Marion, the ponytail girl, is shocked that he survived spatial magic completely unharmed. Marion notes that Leonard's body is trained to an unbelievable degree for his age. She concludes that the only logical explanation is that he's a member of the legendary House Cardenas. Leonard is surprised. His family is famous even across the sea. He confirms he's a Cardenas and asks if that's going to be a problem, sounding like he's ready to fight his way out if it is. Marion whispers to Frances that they should proceed with caution. If House Cardenas is looking for this boy, getting involved might bring them nothing but trouble. Suddenly, a crew member bursts in, yelling for the captain to come to the docks immediately. The peaceful recovery portion of the episode is officially over. The guy is out of breath, warning them about a gang of thugs that is currently causing trouble. Enter Luciano Peterson. He looks like every rich kid villain you've ever seen. Gold chains, open shirt, and a very punchable face. He's leading a mob and looking for trouble. Marion is furious. She realizes these guys targeted the ship on the exact day they were supposed to attend a council meeting. It's a classic setup. Frances turns to Leonard and apologizes. She wanted to give him a proper tour, but she's got to go handle some trash first. She and Marion throw on their cloaks and head out. They look cool, but Leonard can tell Frances is more troubled than she's letting on. Frances tells Leonard he's free to leave once he's recovered and points out his gear. Leonard watches her leave and asks why she even bothered saving a stranger like him. She stops at the door, her high-heeled boot clicking on the floor. It's a dramatic pause that screams, "I'm about to say something very noble." She turns back with a glowing smile and tells him it's because he looked like he needed help. She adds that she never abandons anyone, which is the kind of line that makes Leonard's cold heart twitch. Leonard stares at the door after she leaves. He's silent, but you can tell he's already decided he's not just going to sit in bed and eat soup while she deals with thugs. He looks out the window at her retreating back. He notes to himself that it looks like she is the one who actually needs help right now. The scene shifts to the docks. It's a massive, sunlit pier filled with people, and the atmosphere is incredibly tense. Frances and Marion walk down the gangplank, looking very professional. Luciano is waiting for them, with his hands in his pockets, looking like he's about to ask for their manager. Luciano greets them with a smarmy comment about Frances needing to smile more. This guy is speed-running his way to a hospital visit. Marion draws her sword halfway, telling him she didn't come here to talk. She's clearly the no-nonsense half of this duo. Luciano makes a disgusted face, acting like Marion is just a noisy dog. He's really leaning into the whole unlikable villain archetype. He tells Marion to keep her mouth shut because he's only there to talk to her master. He's being incredibly condescending for someone who's about to be dismantled. Marion is grinding her teeth, barely holding back from turning him into a kebab. She yells his full name, Luciano Peterson, like it's a curse word. Luciano pushes past her, calling her a mutt, and insisting the conversation is between masters. He's walking straight toward Francis, who is just standing there, looking disappointed. He tells Francis to stop being stubborn and just hand over the ship, the Aquamarine. Apparently, he thinks he can just bully her into giving up her family heirloom. He claims the ship is wasted on her and that it shouldn't rot away in her hands. He talks about her family being fallen, which is the fastest way to make a protagonist's blood boil. Francis looks at him with pure disgust. She points out that just because his father is powerful doesn't mean everything in the world belongs to him. She tells him to leave and declares that she will never hand over her ship. It's a big, heroic moment, but Luciano just looks bored. He tells them they're just making things difficult for themselves. He's about to order his gang to attack when a sudden blur of motion cuts through the air. Before Luciano can finish his sentence, his arm is suddenly severed. Blood sprays everywhere as a hand holding a sword appears in the frame. Leonard is standing there, looking bored. He casually asks Francis if it would be alright if he just killed this guy, noting that it's better to get rid of pests early. Francis and Marion are frozen in shock. They didn't even see him move, and they definitely didn't expect the sick boy to start amputating people on the pier. Luciano screams in agony, his gang members panicking and trying to pick up his arm like it's a dropped wallet. He bellows for his men to kill everyone, completely losing his cool. Leonard doesn't even use his sword for the next part. He just becomes a whirlwind of movement, represented by a single, sharp white arc across the screen. He's taking out the thugs with absolute precision. He's moving so fast the gang members are falling over before they can even draw their weapons. He lands a brutal kick on one guy's face, sending him flying. Leonard is basically doing a speed run of a Dynasty Warriors level. The thugs are all groaning on the ground in seconds. Francis and Marion are just staring at the pile of bodies, probably wondering if they picked up a human or a natural disaster. Marion is stunned. She realizes Leonard finished everyone before she even had time to draw her sword. Francis is wondering if this is the true power of House Cardenas. Leonard walks over to the terrified Luciano and steps on his chest. He dryly notes that the guy already reattached his arm with magic, then asks Francis how she wants him to finish the job. Francis and Marion exchange a look. They've realized that Leonard is way more dangerous than any gang leader they've ever faced. Leonard looks back at them, perfectly calm. He asks if something is the matter, acting like he didn't just single-handedly dismantle a criminal organization in 10 seconds. Francis explains that despite how he looks, Luciano is the illegitimate child of the supreme authority of Atlantis. Killing him would be like declaring war on the entire city. We see a map of the Atlantis Maritime Union. It's governed by a council, and they basically rule these seas with an iron fist. The guy in charge is Pablo L. Orlando Peterson, one of the top 5 big shots on the council. Leonard realizes this is a bit more of a headache than he thought, but instead of running, Leonard turns to Francis and makes a proposal. He tells her that for the time being, he's going to be her bodyguard. He looks up at the massive ship, thinking that staying by her side is the best way to solve her problems and gather info on this new world. Our boy has a new mission, and the Atlantis Council has no idea what's coming for them. Leonard stands over a pile of defeated thugs, looking like he's just finished a light morning stretch. He looks at Fran and asks if he should be her bodyguard, which is a bit redundant considering he's already doing the work. Fran is absolutely thrilled, her face lighting up like she just won the lottery. She tells him he's more than welcome, extending her hand with enough energy to power a small city. They seal the deal with a handshake, while Marion watches from the background. Marion looks like she's already calculating the cost of the property damage Leonard is going to cause. Leonard gives a small, actually kind of charming smile. He tells her the pleasure is all his, though we all know he's mostly here for the info and the free bed. Luciano is still crawling on the ground, looking like a discarded background character. Fran mentions that as long as they don't kill him, his powerful father will probably just pretend this whole embarrassing beatdown never happened. Leonard looks at the unconscious gang members and calls it a relief. It's always nice when a villain's dad is too ashamed to seek revenge. Fran tells Leonard to follow her and that she's counting on him to keep her safe. She's acting very much like a captain, even if her crew is currently smaller than a grocery store line. Leonard just gives a simple, understood. He's a man of few words, mostly because most words aren't worth the effort. Leonard asks if he should call her captain, but Fran turns around with a huge grin and tells him Fran is just fine. Marion's face in the back says, I have been working for her for years, and I don't get a nickname. Leonard test drives the nickname, calling her Fran, with zero hesitation. Fran's face turns a shade of pink that matches her hair, and suddenly, the vibe gets very shoujo manga for a second. Leonard thinks to himself that this arrangement isn't so bad. Meanwhile, Marion is probably wondering if she's become a third wheel in her own life. The scene transitions with a massive splash of water. We're heading into the heart of the city, where things are about to get even more expensive looking. They arrive at a bridge with massive, floating magic water arcs. Leonard admits he's never seen anything like this back in Arcadia, proving that even a reincarnated emperor can be impressed by a fancy fountain. Fran explains that this is a trade city that values appearance above everything else. It's all just for show, which is basically the motto of every high-end neighborhood in history. They arrive at Bermuda, the massive, castle-like management office for all the adventuring parties in Atlantis. It's big, blue, and definitely has a very high HOA fee. Leonard looks at a screen showing B07 Aquamarine Party. Apparently, being B rank is a big deal here, even if their party is currently 3 people and a dream. Fran presents her credentials to a magic scanner that confirms her full, very long name. She's got that "I'm actually a noble" energy that makes you wonder how she ended up on a boat. They are led to Zephyrus Hall, which is apparently the exclusive lounge for B-rank parties. It's a step up from the docks, which is where Leonard was living about an hour ago. Leonard nods and follows her in. He's keeping his bodyguard face on, which is basically just his regular face, but with slightly more glaring. They step onto a very expensive-looking carpet. If Leonard accidentally ruins it with thug blood later, it's definitely coming out of his paycheck. Leonard looks around the fancy hall and wonders if B-rank is really that high of a level. He's used to dealing with gods, so his scale of fancy is a bit skewed. He realizes that if a B-rank lounge is this nice, Aquamarine might be a much bigger deal than he initially thought. Or maybe they just have a really good interior decorator. A staff member named Clara greets them with a professional smile. She's there to help Leonard with his party registration, which sounds a lot like filling out HR paperwork. Clara mentions that with Leonard joining, the official member count is now 3. Leonard repeats 3 with a look that says he's seen more people in a bathroom stall. Clara asks Leonard if he has a specific area of expertise so she can record the party's combat capabilities. Leonard is currently holding a sword, so the answer should be obvious, but she's just doing her job. Suddenly, an arrogant thug in the background pipes up, calling Leonard a young lady's little toy. It's a bold comment from a guy who looks like he struggles with basic math. Leonard casually asks Fran if he should take care of him. Fran sighs and says it's fine, because this happens all the time, which is a very sad reflection on the quality of people in this hall. The thug continues his monologue, calling Leonard filler recruit for a tiny party. He's laughing while holding a mug, which is the universal sign of a guy about to get his day ruined. Leonard doesn't even let the guy finish his laugh. In a blur of motion, he's behind the thug, his sword already drawn and ready to end the conversation. Leonard holds the blade to the guy's throat and asks if he's seen enough to judge his skill. The guy's mug is still in the air, but his dignity is already on the floor. Clara is stunned, stuttering out a yes. She then asks Leonard where he's from, which is a tricky question when you're from a continent no one has heard of. Leonard thinks fast, remembering Marion's reaction earlier. He decides that admitting he's from Arcadia is a bad move if he wants to stay under the radar. He knows staying silent would also be suspicious. He needs a cover story that sounds believable, but doesn't lead back to his real family. He blurts out the Kingdom of Kyrgyz, mostly because it was the only other country he could think of on the spot. It's a bit like a secret agent, claiming they're from a country they just finished invading. The registration is complete, and Clara hands over the paperwork. Fran is clutching her chest, looking like she's about to cry from joy, now that her party isn't legally just 2 people anymore. Leonard tells her they're finished here, looking a bit confused by her sudden emotional outburst. He's still learning that some people have feelings that aren't anger or determination. Fran realizes she's acting a bit uncaptain-like and freaks out about her dignity. It's a bit late for that, but we appreciate the effort. She puts on a serious face and tells him, "Good work." Marion just sighs in the background, looking like she's aged 5 years in the last 5 minutes. Fran tells him to go do some sightseeing, noticing that he's curious about the city. She's being a good boss, giving him some paid time off after his first 5 minutes on the job. Leonard watches her go, thinking that he's looking forward to working with her. He's starting to realize that being a bodyguard for a bunch of weirdos is actually kind of fun. He gives a small smirk. Our boy is officially an adventurer, and the world of Atlantis has no idea what it just invited in. But before they part ways, Leonard asks Fran for one more favor. He's got something specific in mind that doesn't involve walking around and looking at statues. The scene shifts to a very imposing set of double doors. This looks like the kind of place where people talk about mana density and ancient circles for hours. A high-heeled boot steps out onto the wooden floor. Someone is coming to meet our boy, and they look like they mean business. A woman greets him, knowing exactly who he is, because Fran apparently can't keep a secret. She invites him in, and Leonard steps into a room filled with magical tools and old books. Leonard thanks her and enters. He's on a mission to learn about magic, because he's realized that being a master of the sword is great until someone teleports you into the ocean. The woman looks him over and notes that he doesn't look like a mage. He looks like a guy who would try to punch a fireball, which is a fair assessment. She snaps her fingers, and suddenly things start to get weird. If you're a mage, you have to do at least one dramatic thing to show off your rank. She levitates several artifacts and asks why he even wants to learn magic. She demands that he tell her everything, which is the classic mysterious mentor opening line. Leonard sits down for tea and explains the situation. He admits that after being swallowed by space magic, he realized he has almost zero knowledge of how to counter it. The woman hums, looking at him with a gaze that's a bit too observant for comfort. She's sizing up his mana, and she clearly likes what she sees. We find out this is Esther, a 4th circle mage of the Atlantis Magic Tower. She realizes Leonard isn't trying to become a magic swordsman, he just wants to not be a victim. She tells him the best way to learn is to get used to it. She holds up a spirit stone engraved with a magic circuit, which is basically a magic for dummies cheat code. Leonard is hesitant, saying he doesn't actually want to use magic. But Esther is already pushing the stone toward him, glowing with a bright blue light. She tells him not to worry, because unless he has a very strange constitution, this is the fastest way. Narrator: "Oh, Esther, you have no idea whose constitution you're messing with." She smiles, mentioning that as a member of Aquamarine, it's her duty to guide her junior. She also adds that if she doesn't, Fran will come in here screaming at her, which is a very relatable motivation. Leonard suddenly lets out a groan of pain. Esther's face goes from, "I'm a cool mentor," to, "Oh no, I broke him in record time." A massive explosion of blue energy erupts from Leonard, knocking Esther back. It turns out that putting a standard magic circuit into a guy with 5 Emperor-level mana cores is like plugging a toaster into a nuclear reactor. The room is shaking as blue sparks fly everywhere. It looks like the fastest way to learn just became the fastest way to remodel the office. A teacup is rattling on its saucer, which is a very polite way for the furniture to say, "Please stop exploding." Esther is panting, trying to stabilize the mana. She's shocked because it wasn't supposed to be this intense, but things finally seem to be settling down. She rushes over to Leonard, asking if he's okay. He's sitting there with his head down, looking like he just went through a spiritual blender. Leonard looks up, panting, and says yes. He's still alive, which is honestly a miracle given the size of that mana flare. We see a vision of a glowing blue dragon and a heart. Esther realizes that Leonard didn't just absorb the magic, he rewrote it because the original spell felt flawed to him. Leonard tells her he's more than okay. He explains that he was able to reinterpret one of the spells from the Circle Stone, which is something beginners definitely aren't supposed to do. He says the spell was Magic Missile. Esther is staring at him with a face that says, "I've been a mage for 10 years, and I can't even do that." Leonard demonstrates, firing off a beam of blue light. It's powerful, fast, and definitely not what a beginner's magic missile is supposed to look like. Leonard casually mentions that he thought the original spell was inefficient and useless, so he just changed it into a sharp dagger form, because, you know, he's Leonard. Esther is losing her mind. She yells, asking if he really changed the base form of a spell, when even she can't do that yet. Also, he did 5 of them at once, just to flex. Leonard then asks Esther if she can show him her own magic circuit. Esther is so stunned, she just agrees without even asking why. Leonard tells her it's because he can see the parts that can be improved. He's standing over her while blue circles pulse around them, basically acting as a magical IT guy for her soul. The scene shifts to the Atlantis Magic Tower. It's a massive, spiraling pillar that reaches into the clouds, looking like it was built by someone with a serious height fetish. Inside, we see a man surrounded by floating books and papers. He's the peak of overworked intellectual aesthetic. He sighs, asking to be spared from any troublesome matters. He looks like the kind of guy whose favorite activity is a quiet room and a very long nap. This is Jack Russell, the 7th tier chief elder of the Magic Tower. He's a big deal, but he clearly wishes he was doing anything else. Esther walks in with Leonard, introducing herself as his one and only disciple. Leonard introduces himself politely, looking remarkably calm for someone meeting a living legend. Jack Russell tells them that outsiders are rarely allowed in, but he's too busy to be a gatekeeper. He tells them to hurry up and explain why they're bothering him. Esther drops the bombshell. She has reached the 5th tier. Her face is sweating because she knows how impossible this sounds given her recent history. Jack is actually surprised. He notes that she's been stagnating for years and asks how she managed to jump a whole tier in one afternoon. Esther tells him to see for himself. She holds out her hand, and flames start to flicker around her fingertips. She casts Fireball, but it's not just a ball of fire. It's intense, swirling, and looks like it could melt through a castle wall. She compresses the fire into a spinning disc shape, maximizing its offensive power. She's showing off the reinterpretations Leonard taught her. She happily credits Leonard for fixing her circuit and giving her advice. Jack Russell tells her she shouldn't be using a high-power fire disc in a library, which is a very reasonable request. Esther realizes she almost burned down the building and gives a nervous, she's a great mage, but maybe not the best at safety protocols. She apologizes, struggling to control the mana. Leonard watches her with a look that says, "I'm going to have to fix this again, aren't I?" Jack Russell is staring at Leonard through his glasses. He realizes this boy has reached the transformation stage of magic, something usually reserved for 6th tier masters. He calls it interesting, while a floating book glows behind him. Jack has officially gone from bored to, "I need to study this kid." He explains that overcoming the boundaries of magic like this requires a level of realization that most people never achieve. He looks at Leonard like he's a rare specimen. Leonard just stands there, looking as stoic as ever. He doesn't mention that he's already lived an entire life as a god king, which kind of gives him a head start on realizations. Jack walks toward Leonard, ignoring his disciple. He realized Esther brought Leonard here specifically because she knew her master would be intrigued. He gets straight to the point and asks Leonard if he wants to become his disciple. It's an offer that most mages would kill for, delivered with all the drama of a marriage proposal. Leonard gives an immediate no. He tells Jack he's already decided to walk the path of the sword. Jack's face is a mix of shock and, well, I tried. But Jack isn't a petty guy. As a token of gratitude for helping Esther, he grants Leonard the same authority as her, unrestricted access to the tower and all its knowledge. He also promises a good relationship with the Aquamarine crew. He's realized that having a kid this talented as an ally is way better than having him as a rival. Leonard smirks and thanks him. He's basically just secured a VIP pass to the best library in the world without having to do any of the homework. He walks out, leaving Esther and Jack in the hall. Leonard is thinking that a good relationship with the tower is going to be very useful for Aquamarine and for his own plans. Back at the hall in Bermuda, Fran is sitting at a massive table, covered in maps and papers. She's stunned when Leonard tells her he's secured an alliance with the Magic Tower. She's practically sparkling with joy, calling Leonard a bringer of good fortune. She explains that the tower is a massive organization on par with the council itself. Leonard changes the subject, pointing to a list of names on the table. He's ready to get back to the actual work of building a crew. Fran explains that these are people she wants to join their adventuring crew. She knows that if they don't increase their numbers, they're never going to expand their influence. She looks at her ship and notes that without the Aquamarine, even being B rank would have been hard. Leonard agrees that the stronger the new members, the better. Fran looks a bit nervous, probably wondering if Leonard is going to judge her recruitment choices. She's got the ship, now she just needs the muscle. Leonard points to a guy in the hall, who looks like he could be useful. We see a thug being suspended in the air by an arrow, caught in his clothes. The guy is screaming to be put down, calling someone a half-breed elf wench. Narrator, pro tip, if you want someone to put you down, maybe don't start with the slurs. We see the archer, a girl with short white hair and a black eye patch. This is one-eyed Ninian, and she looks like she's about 10 seconds away from making that guy a permanent wall decoration. She fires an arrow that glows with a sharp green energy. It's fast, precise, and carries enough force to shatter stone. The thug lets out a pathetic "he" as the arrow slams into the wall right next to his head. Ninian isn't just a good shot, she's a terrifying one. She casually calls him a piece of trash and tells him he's lucky they met here. She walks away with the cool confidence of someone who knows they're the baddest person in the room. But then, a group of high-level thugs blocks her path. They ask if she's going a bit too far, which is rich, coming from guys who look like they harass people for a living. They tell her to stop being stubborn and join the Santa Maria party. They mention her sister's ransom, proving that they're not just thugs, they're also using blackmail. Leonard suddenly speaks up, saying they are the ones going too far. He's holding a bow himself, and he's looking at them with a very dangerous glint in his eye. Leonard fires a shot that creates a massive shockwave, blowing the thugs back. Ninian is shocked, watching the bodyguard do things with a bow that shouldn't be possible. She looks at him and asks who he is. She can sense that this guy is on a completely different level than the usual trash in this hall. Leonard introduces himself as Leonard of the Aquamarine crew. He's standing tall, looking like a hero who just happened to be in the neighborhood. He thanks Clara for lending him the bow, while Fran and Marion watch in shock. Fran asks if Leonard can use a bow too, realizing her bodyguard is basically a one-man army. Leonard turns to Ninian and asks her if she'd like to join them. He promises she won't regret it, delivering the line with the confidence of a guy who knows he's the best deal she's ever going to get. Ninian looks at him, her eye wide with wonder. She realizes his archery is on a level that puts her spirit arts to shame. But then the leader of the thugs pipes up, laughing at the idea of joining a sinking ship like Aquamarine. He tells Ninian to think carefully before she makes a mistake. He starts bragging about his own commander, calling him wonderful. This guy is clearly the dedicated hype man for the main villain. A massive, muscular man steps forward and tells him to stop spouting nonsense. He's huge, bald, and has a mustache that probably has its own zip code. This is Christopher Conrad, commander of the Santa Maria. He's smiling like a shark, looking at Leonard with a gaze that says, "I'm going to enjoy breaking you." He looks down at Leonard and says that B-rank folks probably wouldn't understand his world. He's carrying a massive sword on his back that looks like it weighs more than a small car. Leonard looks back at him and realizes this guy is a powerhouse, just one step away from the transcendent stage. He's the first real challenge Leonard has faced since coming to this city. Leonard admits to himself that if he fights head-on, he'll be at an overwhelming disadvantage. He's a tactical genius, so he's already running the numbers on how to win. He looks at Ninian and realizes that a skilled archer like her would be a key player in naval battles. She's a talent he absolutely cannot let get away. Leonard prepares for a fight, his red eyes glowing with resolve. Even if it comes to a brawl with Christopher Conrad, he's determined to make Ninian their comrade. We open on a tiny hand, grabbing a larger one. A voice calls out "Big Sister," and you can already tell we're in the tragic flashback portion of the evening. A younger Ninian looks at her sister, Vivian, wondering why she's the big sister when she's just a half-breed. Vivian doesn't care about bloodlines, she's just happy to have Ninian by her side. Ninian explains that Vivian was a pure spirit arts user with talent that made Ninian's own skills look like a participation trophy. In the elf world, talent is everything, and Ninian felt like the impure shadow. Despite the labels, they were family, and for a while, life was actually peaceful. Of course, since this is a manhwa, that happiness was scheduled to be destroyed in approximately 3 panels. The piece ends with a literal splash of blood as Ninian is struck down. It's a brutal reminder that in this world, being a peaceful elf is basically an invitation for someone to ruin your life. We see a close-up of a cold blue eye through a veil of blood. A voice mocks them, wondering if Vivian sent out a distress signal to a dwelling that was way too far for anyone to help. Christopher Conrad enters the flashback, looking just as greasy as he does in the present. He holds a contract over a wounded Ninian, telling her that her little sister is already his property. Ninian begs him to give Vivian back, offering to do anything in exchange. Conrad just laughs, asking what a mutt with weak spirit arts could possibly offer a man like him. He leans in with a terrifying grin, telling her he has no use for a failure like her. He tells her to get lost, leaving her with the crushing weight of her own helplessness. Back in the present, Ninian is shaking with rage and despair. She knows she's the only one who can save Vivian, but she also knows she has zero chance of beating the monster in front of her. That's when a pair of boots steps forward into the light. Leonard breaks the silence with 4 words that change the entire energy of the room. "I challenge you to a duel." Everyone's jaw drops as Leonard specifies the terms, a duel between Aquamarine and Santa Maria, with the termination of Vivian's slave contract on the line. Our boy doesn't do small talk, he goes straight for the throat. Marion immediately loses her mind, yelling that he can't just decide things like that on his own. She realizes Leonard is basically declaring an all-out war with one of the strongest crews in the city. She turns to Fran, begging her to stop him, before they all end up in a shallow grave. Leonard just calmly says Fran, like he's about to explain why he bought the wrong brand of milk. He tells her that this is their best chance to recruit a capable archer and a spirit arts user. He's already thinking 3 steps ahead about the ship's roster, while everyone else is thinking about their funeral. Leonard gives her a serious look, asking if she can leave this to him just this once. He's asking for her trust, which is a big ask when you're asking her to risk her entire livelihood. Fran stares into his eyes for a long moment. She sees something there, a level of confidence that shouldn't belong to a mere bodyguard, and she simply says, "Understood, Leonard." Leonard grabs Ninian's arm, snapping her out of her trance. He asks what she's blanking out for, acting like he didn't just bet his life on her family drama. He asks if she's lost her nerve already. He's being blunt because he needs her focused, not drowning in a flashback while a giant with a mustache tries to kill them. Conrad grabs Leonard by the collar, pulling him close. He's furious, calling Leonard a greenhorn brat for having the audacity to challenge an A-rank commander. Conrad asks what they're even betting, since an elven spirit arts user is incredibly rare. Fran steps up and declares they will bet the purchasing rights to the aquamarine itself. Fran stands tall, offering her ship against the Santa Maria's A-rank exploration rights. It's a fair trade on paper, but a complete suicide mission in practice. Leonard thinks to himself that Fran is providing some heavy covering fire. He didn't expect her to go that hard, but he's definitely not complaining about the backup. Conrad agrees to the deal, but adds a condition of his own. He insists that the duelists be strictly limited to the current members of Aquamarine. We see the gear turning in Conrad's head. He's worried Fran might use her noble connections to call in a real swordmaster, which would actually make this a fair fight. He declares the duel will be a one-on-one between him and Leonard. He thinks he's being clever by isolating the weakest link, not realizing he's just locked himself in a cage with a tiger. Conrad walks away, laughing about how much he's looking forward to the duel. The Aquamarine crew is left standing in the hall, looking like they've just been handed a ticking time bomb. Back at the Magic Tower, Marion slams her hand on a table, screaming, "Are you out of your mind?" It's a valid question, considering the circumstances. Marion rants about how Conrad is a commander of an A-rank crew and a seasoned magic swordsman. She's trying to explain power scaling to Leonard, but Leonard already finished the game on Inferno mode in his last life. Fran is chugging her tea, admitting that Conrad made her mad, and that he's creepy too. It's nice to know her primary motivation for risking her ship was bad vibes. Marion points out that even if she and Ninian fought him 2-on-1, they wouldn't stand a chance. They're stuck in a situation where they can't win, but they also can't back out without losing everything. Ninian looks down, apologizing for dragging them into her mess. Fran tells her it's fine, and that they can't turn back now anyway, but the atmosphere is still heavy with "we're all going to die" energy. Suddenly, a hum of blue energy fills the room. It's a familiar sound, the kind that usually happens right before Leonard does something impossible. Leonard draws his sword, and a massive, brilliant blue aura erupts from the blade. He's standing there looking like a literal god of war in a dress shirt. Fran's eyes go wide. She's seen a lot of things, but she wasn't expecting her new employee to have the power output of a small sun. Marion stammers, "Aura blade?" She's shocked because she thought Leonard was only at the 3rd stage of the external force realm. Apparently, Leonard's resume was missing a few key details. Leonard tells her that was only his official rank. He admits he hasn't had any reason to show his true strength until now, which is a very polite way of saying he's been holding back this whole time. He holds the glowing blade and declares there is zero way his current self will lose to someone like Conrad. It's not arrogance if you can actually back it up. Fran is silent for a moment, the gravity of the situation finally sinking in. She's looking at a guy who is clearly way more than just a talented trainee. Then, she bursts into a huge smile, saying, "As expected of Leonard." She's back to 100% optimism, purely because Leonard has a shiny sword now. She thanks him, and Leonard notes that Conrad isn't even at the Swordmaster level yet. He's confident he can win, but Ninian still has one concern. Ninian points out that Conrad is a magic swordsman. Even if Leonard is better with a blade, they still need a plan to counter his magic, which can be unpredictable and dirty. A pair of boots enters the frame, as a voice tells them there's no need to worry. It's the kind of entrance that usually belongs to someone who is about to provide a lot of plot convenience. Jack Russell and Esther walk into the room. Jack notes that there's no way Conrad is more of a genius than the boy standing in front of them. We get a shot of a fancy chandelier. It's time for a strategy meeting with the most powerful mage in the city. Jack sits at his desk, listening as they explain the duel and the stakes. He looks like he's bored, but his eyes are sharp. He knows exactly how much is at risk. We get a close-up of Jack's eye through his glasses. He asks if they want him to be the official witness for the duel, which would prevent Conrad from cheating or using outside help. Leonard and Fran stand before him, asking for his help to ensure a fair fight. They know that without a high-ranking witness, Conrad will definitely try some foul play. Jack notes that Leonard is Esther's benefactor, so it's a simple request for him to fulfill. He's doing it as a favor, but you can tell he also just wants to see Leonard fight. He adds that he also highly doubts Conrad won't try some sort of cheap trick. He knows the guy's reputation, and it's not exactly fair and honorable. The scene shifts to a dark room with red lighting, the universal sign that we're in the villain's lair. A man stands by a window, looking out over the city. We see a close-up of a pair of intense, red eyes. He says, "You're here, Conrad," with a voice that sounds like gravel in a blender. Conrad is kneeling before the man, looking unusually humble. This is Counselor Pablo L. Orlando Peterson, the man who actually pulls the strings in Atlantis. Pablo mentions he's heard the news about the duel. He thinks it's a perfect opportunity to finally get their hands on the aquamarine, and Conrad eagerly agrees. Pablo drops a small dark pill on the floor. He tells Conrad to drink it before the duel, claiming it will allow him to exert power that surpasses a swordmaster for a short time. Conrad is offended, thinking it's a waste to use a secret elixir on a brat like Leonard. He's so overconfident, he doesn't realize his boss is basically calling him incompetent. Pablo erupts with a terrifying red aura, towering over Conrad. He asks if it looks like he's asking for a favor right now. Conrad immediately starts begging for forgiveness like a kicked puppy. Pablo notes that since Leonard's team is acting so confident, they must have a plan. He tells Conrad he cannot afford to miss this opportunity, and that he must obtain the ship at all costs. Conrad grins, his gold tooth flashing. He vows to succeed by any means necessary. We close on a split shot of Leonard and Conrad. The duel is set, and it's about to be a total bloodbath.